Chapter 1241. Don't think that the Death Destruction clan is stupid and barbaric. It is not bad for them to have king-level intelligence. The intelligence of emperors is naturally not low. Great Emperor North River said, "The Death Destruction clan and us natives are both pursuing the ultimate awakening. All sorts of precious external resources are being fought over. Because the Death Destruction clan was born on the Sky Floating Islands, they hold an advantage and occupied most of the resources." Brother Feishu. Great Emperor North River looked at Dongbua Shuang. "I need your help. If we work together, we will have fewer flaws than Supremes." Dongbua Shuang looked at Great Emperor North River in front of him. The eyes of Great Emperor North River were sincere. Dongbua Shuang was clear that they who had eternal lifespans would feel displeased when they felt like ants trapped in the cage. They desired to jump out of the cage and improve their essence of life. But Dongbua Shuang disliked the methods of Great Emperor North River. For the sake of his goals, he would not stoop to any means. Some of the weaker worlds would not easily submit to him. Great Emperor North River even wanted to kill them, changing to another world that submitted to him. By relying on such cruel methods, he could force other worlds to submit to him as soon as possible. 2. Unscrupulous. It is not wise for us to live and die together. Dongbua Shuang thought. Great Emperor. Dongbua Shuang said, "If we work together, what if other experts and supremes seek my help in the future? Naturally, we can't easily agree." Great Emperor North River said, "They do not have your help. Only then will we have an advantage. After all, resources are limited. If others snatch from us, we will have less." "I understand," Dongbua Shuang said. "I hope Great Emperor can forgive me. I temporarily do not wish to tie myself to a single ship." Great Emperor North River was stunned. He was stunned for a moment. "I prefer freedom. Facing many matters, I prefer to make my own decisions. I am not willing to be tied together with others." Dongbua Shuang said. Firstly, he disliked the personality of Great Emperor North River. Secondly, he did not care about the resources that the natives and Death Destruction clan desired. Cultivators cared more about improving their realm. Since that's the case, why should he tie himself to Great Emperor North River and fight to the death? "You can help the Starlight clan and some of the weaker worlds. Can you help me?" Great Emperor North River looked at Shuang. "Of course." Dongbua Shuang smiled. "But it depends on what it is." "Haha. I've long since heard of Brother Feishu's temperament. You hate evil as if it's your mortal enemy. I'm afraid you don't like my methods." Great Emperor North River casually chuckled. "But the main reason I'm seeking your help is to deal against a supreme from the Death Destruction clan." "Oh." Dongbua Shuang nodded. "All right, I can agree to it." Even though he had several techniques, he was not willing to infuriate Great Emperor North River and cause the Starlight world and many other worlds to suffer. Furthermore, he was dealing against a supremacy from the Death Destruction clan. There were a total of 3 supremacies from the Death Destruction clan. Perhaps because they were born from death, these 3 supremacies were all cruel and ruthless. They were unquestionably great devils. Fortunately, there were 2 supremacies from the natives who obstructed the Death Destruction clan at crucial moments. That was why the natives could live such a life. Previously, I did not dare to think about it, but with Brother Feishu around, I'm slightly more confident. Great Emperor North River heard that Dongbua Shuang agreed to it. He was immediately delighted. "I still have to prepare properly. When I'm done, I'll inform Brother Feishu. I'll leave an avatar in the Starlight world. If Great Emperor wishes to find me, you can go to the Starlight world." Dongbua Shuang said. "All right, since you are willing to help me, I'll naturally not mistreat you." Great Emperor North River chuckled. "Previously, you can stop attacking many worlds. Consider it an apology." Dongbua Shuang was delighted when he heard that. "Then I'll have to thank Great Emperor. I believe many worlds will be grateful to Great Emperor." "They should be grateful to you," Great Emperor North River said. After chatting with Great Emperor North River, they parted ways. Dongbua Shuang left with the incarnation of Starlight Master. "You're leaving just like that?" Starlight Master transmitted over. Amen. Great Emperor has created such a huge commotion. This magpie flower banquet is all for the sake of welcoming you. Yet he let you leave after exchanging a few words with you? Starlight Master was completely puzzled. Dongbua Shui glanced at him. He did not say anything and simply flew out. Wait for me. The incarnation of Starlight Master chased after him. His incarnation was not important, but that piece of magpie flower petal that his incarnation brought with him was extremely important. After this banquet ended, the name of Monarch Feishue gradually spread out, especially to the highest echelon of the natives in Broken Tooth Mountain Range. Oh, a soul technique that could easily cause emperors to fall into oblivion? Even God, General Wind Smoke of the 36 God Generals, had fallen into oblivion? A tall and thin violet-robed old man exuded an abnormally terrifying aura that spread out in all directions. Many lightning bolts appeared from nothingness and revolved around him. He was none other than one of the two great supremes of the natives, Supreme Thunder Firmament. He had awakened his bloodline energy to grand perfection Emperor, allowing him to sense another level of energy at all times. That was a terrifying energy. It could jump out of this world and the obstruction of the laws of Yuan. It could travel through the endless space and head to all sorts of mysterious places. I have never heard of such a soul technique before. Even Supremes would have to divert a lot of their heart force to resist against it. The violet-robed old man thought, that North River is indeed cunning. He immediately invited that Monarch Feishue. Monarch Feishue? There is actually such a soul technique. Supreme Vast Ancient's entire body was covered in a wave of heat. Those weaker could not even look at him directly. Supreme Vast Ancient naturally emitted a dazzling light like a huge fireball. Even though his frontal combat strength is ordinary and his close combat strength is negligible, his soul technique could actually affect us. Nevertheless, his soul technique could affect us. It seems an amazing expert has appeared in the Realm Heart Great Land. Supreme Vast Ancient thought. Over the long years, he had never cared about the cultivators from the Realm Heart Great Land. But this time, he treated them seriously. Furthermore, in his heart, the threat of this Monarch Feishue was higher than that of great emperors. This North River is truly cunning. He immediately took the initiative to invite him and even set up a banquet to recruit him. His actions are fast, and it is too late for me to receive the intelligence. A black-robed single-horned male shook his head slightly. I'm a step too slow. I hope that Monarch Feishue doesn't rely on North River. The world energy condensed into an absolute beauty looking in the direction of the distant starlight world. She muttered to herself, North River's ambition is too great. The other three great emperors under Supreme Vast Ancient have been schemed against by him and lost the gamble. This time, if we were to gain the help of this Monarch Feishue, our clan might really have a third Supreme. Those at the highest level of the natives were naturally well informed. They were all paying attention to this Monarch Feishue, and Dongbua Shui had already returned to the Starlight World. And very soon, a piece of news began spreading. The armies under Great Emperor North River that were originally attacking the native worlds had all retreated. They have all retreated. Every single army under Great Emperor North River has retreated. The regions which Great Emperor Glorious Earth originally ruled have regained their freedom. Those retreating armies have said it. It was Monarch Feishue who pleaded for mercy, and Great Emperor North River has agreed to stop attacking. It was Monarch Feishue who pitted the worlds. That was why Great Emperor North River agreed to stop. Many pieces of news were spreading rapidly. Many worlds were originally in despair. Now that the armies of Great Emperor North River had retreated, their hometown regained its peace. They could live freely like before. After experiencing despair, they regained their freedom. Only then did they feel even more grateful. Everyone knew that it was because Monarch Feishue had an agreement with Great Emperor North River. That was why Great Emperor North River retreated. Various parties were incredibly grateful. This was a huge favor of saving their entire hometown world. This was a huge favor of saving their entire clan. Great benefactor, Monarch Feishue has saved our clan. Given the personality of Great Emperor North River, it is impossible for him to stop attacking for no reason. After all, it is such a huge region. Monarch Feishue must have paid a huge price. It is all thanks to Monarch Feishue. Many worlds sent out teams to the Starlight World to pay a visit to their benefactor, Monarch Feishue. An endless stream of teams arrived. Monarch Feishue. Many emissaries from different worlds were personally led by world masters. Their eyes were filled with gratitude and excitement as they paid a visit to Dongboi Shueying. They had prepared gifts for him. This was a huge favor of saving their hometown world and their clan. How could they not act? As long as they felt it would be useful to this Monarch Feishue, who was born as a heart cultivator, they had already prepared them. Dongboi Shueying was slightly dumbfounded as he faced the endless stream of teams and the mountains of treasures. This great Emperor North River deliberately said that it was because of me that he asked for mercy. Is it because of me? It seems he is doing me a favor. Dongboi Shueying understood the thoughts of Great Emperor North River. Chapter 1242. He is afraid that even though I promised to help, I will not do my best during crucial moments and plot against him. Dongboi Shueying thought in his heart. At the same time, he was dealing with the batches of visiting teams from various worlds. Those world masters and elders who led the teams were looking at Dongboi Shueying with gratitude. They were saying many words of gratitude. My floating origin world has no way to repay Monarch for saving my clan. In the future, if Monarch has any orders, you just have to instruct us. My floating origin world will definitely not reject you. Monarch Feishue. The few of us have never met Monarch before. Monarch has pitted us and is willing to save our clans from our hometown. These people who came to visit were full of affection. Some had red eyes, and some were even tearing up. Their tears were not because of gratitude. Instead, they were thinking about how many clansmen had sacrificed themselves in the previous battle. It was too difficult. Fortunately, Monarch Feishue appeared and saved many worlds. Dongboi Shueying did not put on any airs. Instead, he welcomed them one by one. He even hosted a grand banquet on that day, with many teams from different worlds participating in it. Monarch Feishue is indeed extraordinary. With the identity of Monarch, even some weaker god generals would fall before him. God General Skeletal Dragon and others have suffered a huge loss in strength. Despite Monarch's strength, he is still so polite to us. I've heard that Monarch has single-handedly deterred many devils in the Realm Heart Great Land and saved many sentient beings. What did Monarch do in the Realm Heart Great Land? Tell me about it. Discussions are going on everywhere during the banquet. They came from different worlds, and some did not have much contact with each other in the past. Some even had enmity with each other. But today, they had a common benefactor, Monarch Feishue. This made their discussions in full swing. The atmosphere of the banquet was exceptionally good because everyone knew that their hometown would no longer be attacked from now on. As long as Great Emperor North River did not attack, then their hometown would be safe. Because this was the territory belonging to Great Emperor North River, and other great emperors were not qualified to act. Dongboi Shueying got to know many world masters and received many gifts. So many gifts, piled up like a mountain. Sitting at the banquet, Dongboi Shueying sensed the treasures in his storage grotto heaven. Many of these treasures had magnificent auras. 2 supreme secret treasures. 106 peak-level secret treasures. There are also countless rare treasures. Crazy. Dongboi Shueying felt slightly numb. Right now, I should be considered the wealthiest cultivator across the entire Realm Heart Great Land. It was said that there were countless treasures and lucky chances in the Broken Teeth Mountain range, but in reality, the natives were stronger. They had wandered around again and again, obtaining many treasures. For example, supreme secret treasures, pinnacle secret treasures. Their auras were extraordinary, and with a single glance, one could tell that they were treasures. although the natives had tried time and time again. Because they cultivated the power of their bloodline, they were unable to use peak-grade secret treasures or supreme secret treasures. Even if he couldn't use it, he would still keep it when he encountered it. For example, the extreme knight Primogenitor and the others had once devoured the natives wantonly and robbed them of their treasures. There were even unparalleled existences who came to trade with them. It's just that the natives only asked for rare treasures. Most of them were of great help to their bloodline. Usually, the Death Destruction clan required such treasures too. In the Sky Floating Island, they wanted to obtain such treasures. It was much more difficult than searching for top-graded secret treasures. I've discovered 2 supreme-graded secret treasures across the many worlds. One is of the Tao of Fire, and the other is of the Tao of Strength. Dongbua Shuang thought. For instance, that 8 Silk Island Master cultivated the Tao of Strength. If he could obtain this mysterious pole, he would immediately become unparalleled. For instance, that Sacred Fire City Master cultivated the Tao of Fire. It's just that both Sacred Fire City Master and 8 Silk Island Master were great devils. It was impossible for Dongbua Shuang to trade with them. Emperor Summer should have cultivated both the Tao of Fire and the Tao of Void. Dongbua Shuang thought. Emperor Summer only had a single Void Supreme-graded secret treasure. Top-graded secret treasure, Dongbua Shuang mocked himself. There were many top-graded secret treasures. For instance, the Summer Wind Ancient Nation was one of the 6 great ancient nations. The Fan Clan had 6 great paragons. The Summer Clan had 9 great paragons, and the Tsang Clan had 7 great paragons. There were also a group of paragon masters that did not belong to the 3 great clans. There were even a few like Great Paragon Fui, who owned several top-graded secret treasures. But adding them all up, there were only a few dozen top-graded secret treasures. And he alone had more than 100. That was more than what an ancient nation had accumulated over a long period of time. After all, they were sent over by so many native worlds. Dongbua Shuang sighed inwardly. In addition to a large number of rare treasures, his wealth had indeed leaped past almost all unparalleled existences. Even Undying Underworld Emperor, who cultivated the path of becoming a chaotic origin life form, might not be as wealthy as him. Of the top-graded secret treasures, there are a total of 9 that are related to the Void. And there are 3 that are stronger than the Void Fire Lotus Flower. Dongbua Shuang sighed. Some of the top-graded secret treasures in Realm Heart Great Land were obtained from the Realm Heart God Palace, and some from the Broken Teeth Mountain Range. Some are refined by Final Realm experts. And those within the Broken Teeth Mountain Range, they were almost definitely left behind by Yuan. Yuan had left behind many opportunities for cultivators. He wanted to let the cultivators fight for these treasures and even compete with the natives. Who would have thought that Dongbua Shuang had made many native worlds incredibly grateful to him? They were all doing their best to search through the reserves of their races, finding treasures that could be useful to cultivators and sending them over. They would feel heartache if they gave away treasures that were useful to the natives. However, they were very willing to give cultivator items that they could not use. Supreme-graded secret treasures were precious, but they could not use them. At most, they would use them to trade with the cultivators in Realm Heart Great Land. For the sake of gratitude for saving their races, they would still give them away. The banquet ended. Dongbua Shuang executed the Great Destruction Realm Teleportation technique, sending all the treasures back to Feishua City. Where should I go next? Dongbua Shuang flipped through many pieces of intelligence on the Sky Floating Islands. They were all intelligence sent over by the various worlds. Adding up the huge amount of intelligence, Dongbua Shuang's understanding of the Sky Floating Islands in Broken Teeth Mountain Range made him the #1 expert in Realm Heart Great Land. Woo! There are a total of 1,200 islands with mysterious eyes. Dongbua Shuang nodded. The Bloodflame clan is just a single clan, and I know very little about them. I still have to think of ways to search through all 1,200 islands. But I'm not in a rush. Even though cultivating the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm is important, is not as important as cultivating the Tao of Void. His hometown origin world was expanding, and he was getting closer and closer to the Great Apocalypse. He had to reach the final realm in the Tao of Void before the Great Apocalypse. It is beneficial to my cultivation of the Tao of Void. Dongbua Shui Ying pondered. According to the intelligence, there are quite a few sky-floating islands with opportunities in the Tao of Void. But firstly, those opportunities are of limited help to me. They are not comparable to the world flower given to me by Lord Lo Chung. Secondly, I have experienced quite a few opportunities in the 500 sky-floating islands previously. Currently, what I need the most is to meditate and comprehend. And in terms of meditation, there is a supreme treasure in Broken Teeth mountain range. 7 Bell Pagoda. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes brightened. The 7 Bell Pagoda was a treasure similar to the Burning Heart God Tree and Origin Realm God Palace in Realm Heart Great Land. The 7 Bell Pagoda was much stronger than the Burning Heart God Tree and Origin Realm God Palace. It was even known as the #1 supreme treasure for meditation and cultivation in Broken Teeth mountain range. Even though it was not that important to the natives and Death Destruction clans who cultivated their bloodline, it still caused many to fight over it. In the end, it was obtained by Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. The 7 Bell Pagoda was unique. There were 7 bells hanging by the side of the pagoda. Once one controlled their energy and lightly pushed, the 7 bells would ring consecutively. The ringing of the bells would lead the cultivator into an extremely profound cultivation realm. However, the 7 bells would only ring once every trillion years. After ringing, the bell would no longer ring when pushed again. One had to wait for a trillion years before the bells would regain their mystical energy. Those great emperors and even supremes who cultivated their bloodline had once traded with Great Emperor Shamanic Wind in exchange for a chance to cultivate. Under that heart realm, it was even easier to comprehend one's own bloodline. I feel that my accumulations in the Tao of Void are sufficiently deep. I have a supreme secret importation and have created 5 great killing techniques. Furthermore, I have experienced training in more than 500 sky-floating islands. If I were to enter closed-door cultivation, I might be able to break through. Dongbua Shui thought. He believed it would be more beneficial for him to enter closed-door cultivation in the #1 supreme treasure for meditation and cultivation in Broken Teeth mountain range. Time to meet Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. Dongbua Shui left behind an avatar in the Starlight clan. At the same time, he stealthily headed towards the Shamanic Wind world. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind was similarly a subordinate of Supreme Vast Ancient. His combat strength was comparable to the great sages of low-graded chaotic origin life forms. But not too long ago, 3 great emperors, including him, had lost to Great Emperor North River in a gambling match. They did not publicize the method of their gambling match. If they were to fight to the death, it would be hard to determine a winner since their strength was similar. Chapter 1243. Dongbua Shui Ying easily tore through the void and instantly arrived at the Shamanic Wind world. The Shamanic Wind world, as the world of a great emperor, had extremely tight security. Just as Dongbua Shui Ying entered this world, before he could take a good look at this world, he heard an angry roar. "How dare you barge into the Shamanic Wind world?" An angry roar reverberated throughout the world. A group of soldiers tore through the void and appeared. The leader stared angrily at Dongbua Shui. "Please pass the message that I wish to meet Great Emperor Shamanic Wind." Dongbua Shui said, You still dare to be unreasonable. What kind of status does a great emperor have? Do you think you can meet him whenever you want?" The leader roared, "Hurry up and scram. We might still spare your life. Otherwise, don't blame us for being merciless." The status of a great emperor was extremely high. They managed large territories on behalf of supremes. The world masters of the various worlds were usually not qualified to meet a great emperor. The aura of a world master was at least at the initial emperor rank. Yet they were not qualified. Dongbua Shui Ying's aura became even weaker. Why would these soldiers show him any respect? I am Monarch Feishue. I have specially come to pay a visit to Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. Dongbua Shui Ying spoke again. Since he was here to ask for a favor, his attitude naturally had to be better. He reported his name as this soldier should know him. Monarch Feishue? What Monarch Feishue? How dare you call yourself a monarch? The leader roared. Do it, chase him out. Dongbua Shui Ying was instantly embarrassed. The other party had never heard of his name before. During the previous banquet, he thought that his name had spread throughout the Broken Teeth mountain range. However, he was wrong. His name had spread rapidly in the highest level of the Broken Teeth mountain range. For example, the territories that Great Emperor Glorious Earth had retreated rapidly because of the attacking army. Those worlds naturally knew of his name. But for the other territories, if one's status was high enough, they would be able to receive the message. Those with lower statuses might not even know of Monarch Feishue's name. There was another reason. Dongbua Shui Ying was too fast. After receiving the various world lords, he immediately came to see Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. After some time, his name would gradually spread. He believed most of the king stage powerhouses in the other territories would know about him. Now, the news had yet to spread among the weaker cultivators. Boom! The leading soldier gave the order, and the other soldiers immediately moved. Stop! A terrifying fluctuation descended. It was the fluctuation of an emperor-level expert. A green-robed woman walked out from the void, her terrifying might enveloping the group of soldiers. Divine General Avian Feather. These soldiers immediately bowed respectfully when they saw this. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind did not have as many god generals as Great Emperor North River. He only had a total of 8. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind trusted them very much, and their authority was rather great as well. Greetings, Emperor Feishue. The green-robed woman smiled and bowed to Dongbua Shui Ying. These patrolmen have never heard of Emperor Shui Ying's great name. They have offended Emperor Shui Ying. I hope Emperor Shui Ying will forgive them. The soldiers by the side were dumbstruck when they saw this. God General Avian Feather was actually so polite to this white-robed young man. Why aren't you apologizing to Emperor Shui Ying? The green-robed woman turned and reprimanded. The soldiers were slightly puzzled. Emperor, only a handful of natives dared to call themselves Emperor Shui Ying. Where did this Emperor Feishue come from? Even though they did not understand, they still bowed respectfully. Please forgive us, Emperor Shui. This isn't your fault. Dongbua Shui Ying chuckled. He was the one who received the gratitude of so many world lords that he thought his name had spread across the natives. Emperor Feishue has come to my shamanic wind world, and my clan's emperor is delighted too. He specially ordered me to come and welcome you. Who would have thought that these patrolmen would almost offend Emperor Shui Ying? The green-robed woman passionately said, Emperor Shui Ying, please, please. The two of them immediately tore through the void and headed towards the shamanic wind god palace. They left behind a group of soldiers who were slightly puzzled. Emperor Feishue? Which emperor is he? Currently, there are a total of 8 emperors under the 2 supremes, and none of them is called Emperor Feishue. If a new great emperor were to emerge, we should have known about it long ago. Never heard of it, but Sir God General is treating him so politely. Even Great Emperor has ordered God General Avian Feather to personally welcome him. Let me ask General and see if General knows about it. They also transmitted over to ask. Those at the highest level in the shamanic wind world knew about it. What? Some of the weaker god generals have fallen in front of this Emperor Feishue? Their lives and deaths are under his control? The second god general of the 36 god generals under Great Emperor North River, God General Skeletal Dragon, suffered a huge loss in strength in front of Emperor Feishue and was actually forced to escape by an ordinary world master from the Starlight World. Great Emperor North River befriended this Emperor Feishue and gave an order to give up on attacking all the worlds originally under Great Emperor Glorious Earth. After these soldiers heard the news, they could not help but feel dumbfounded. Great Emperor North River would not even treat their Great Emperor Shamanic Wind so politely. According to hearsay, Great Emperor North River even used a scheme to win the wager for the sake of the territories under Great Emperor Glorious Earth. Yet, because of Emperor Fei Xue, he gave up on the war? That was too crazy. No matter what, his origin is huge. These soldiers understood this point. Ordinary emperors were swept away by this emperor. How could they offend him? Shamanic Wind God Palace. I have just heard of the matter regarding Emperor Fei Xue. I was still lamenting over the fact that there is such an expert in this world who could cause emperors to fall into oblivion with his soul technique. Who would have thought that Emperor would come and visit me? I am truly delighted. The moment Shamanic Wind God Emperor saw Dongbua Shuiying, he took the initiative to rush over to welcome him. Great Emperor is too polite. Dongbua Shuiying was also observing this Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind had a saber hanging by his waist. His hair was disheveled, and his robe was loose. Come, have a seat. Emperor has come from the Realm Heart Great Land to my Broken Tooth Mountain Range. Even though you have stayed in the Starlight World for some time, I believe you have not tasted many of the delicacies and wines unique to the Broken Tooth Mountain Range, right? Great Emperor Shamanic Wind passionately laughed. At this moment, many female attendants brought over the delicacies and wines. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind would not be so polite even to other monarchs. But it was different to Dongbua Shuiying, because he and other great emperors were competing against one another, and Dongbua Shuiying was a cultivator. What he cared about was his realm. He did not care about those miraculous items that were helpful to his bloodline. Previously, Great Emperor Shamanic Wind and the other monarchs were still worried that this Emperor Fei Xue would rely on Great Emperor North River and be tied to the worship of Great Emperor North River. But now, Emperor Fei Xue came to visit him. It seemed he did not stand on the same side as Great Emperor North River. One had the intention to befriend him and the other to ask for help. Naturally, the conversation was a joyous one. I wonder why Brother Fei Xue has come my place? Just tell me if you have something. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind finally asked. Great Emperor, we cultivators still care about our realm. I came here hoping to borrow the 7-bell pagoda to enter closed-door cultivation. Dongbua Shuiying said, I know that the 7-bell pagoda is publicly recognized as the #1 supreme treasure for meditation and cultivation in the Broken Tooth Mountain Range. Once it is activated, it cannot be used a second time for the next trillion years. I am thick-skinned enough to ask Great Emperor for help. Great Emperor, if you have any conditions that Great Emperor can agree to, you could just tell me. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind chuckled when he heard that. Using it once every trillion years might seem like a long time, but in reality, he had used it long enough. Using it again would not be helpful to awaken his bloodline. Usually, it was used for external transactions. It is a small matter for Brother Fei Xue to use the 7-bell pagoda to cultivate. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind chuckled. As for the conditions, I do have a small request that I hope Brother Fei Xue can agree to. Great Emperor, just say it. Dongbua Shuiying heaved a sigh of relief inwardly. Send a few avatars with me to Emperor Yin Island. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind said, no matter if this trip succeeds or fails, Brother Fei Xue can still use the 7-bell pagoda to cultivate. Dongbua Shuiying naturally knew what kind of place the Emperor Yin Island was after obtaining so many intelligence reports. Emperor Yin was one of the 13 emperors beneath the 3 great supremes of the Death Disaster clan. Its strength was comparable to great emperors. At the level of the 13 emperors of the Death Disaster clan, the sky-floating islands they occupied were ranked at the forefront. They were huge and filled with dangers. It was fine if the islands were dangerous, but this Emperor Yin Island was the island with the highest number of experts amongst the 13 emperor sky-floating islands. With Monarch Fei Xue around, I am least afraid of group attacks. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind was inwardly delighted. Previously, he wanted to invite Monarch Fei Xue. Yet this Monarch Fei Xue had been invited over by Great Emperor North River. In the blink of an eye, Monarch Fei Xue came personally to visit him. The other party had a request, and he had a request too. Both parties would obtain what they needed, and both parties would be happy The fourth watch was over. Chapter 1244. Dongbua Shui Ying readily agreed to it. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind was also filled with joy. He began explaining his plan in detail. Understood. I understand. Great Emperor can be rest assured. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded as he listened. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind explained his plan once. He then reminded, lastly, Brother Fei Xue, it is best for you to conceal your aura and change your appearance. Your name has long been spread amongst the true experts of the natives. Even though news within the Death Destruction clan spreads very slowly, Emperor Ying is ultimately one of the 13 emperors. Furthermore, he has the most subordinates amongst the 13 emperors. Hence, his information network should be relatively faster. Perhaps he might have heard of some matters regarding you. If it were to recognize you and make preparations, things would be troublesome. All right, it will definitely not recognize me. Dongbua Shui Ying was incredibly confident. Ever since he created the #1 killing technique in the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm, his technique of changing his aura had become more profound. Furthermore, he himself was a part of the Illusory Realm. His disguise technique was rank #1 in Realm Heart Greatland. I'll make some preparations before setting off tomorrow. Is that good? Great Emperor Shamanic Wind's eyes brightened. I can move anytime. Dongbua Shui Ying directly answered. The next day, Great Emperor Shamanic Wind brought along the 5 god generals and Dongbua Shui Ying towards the Emperor Yin Island. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind had too few god generals, only 8 in total. The 5 god generals that were chosen were already the most powerful among them. Emperor God Wu Feng had mainly relied on the temptation of benefits or kindness to make some powerful god generals willing to serve him. We have arrived at the Emperor Yin Island. After teleporting, Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, Dongbua Shui Ying, and the rest of 7 stood in the void looking at the incomparably huge sky-floating island. The sky-floating island was covered in a cold, dark aura. The size of this island startled Dongbua Shui Ying inwardly because it was the biggest sky-floating island he had ever seen. After entering the Emperor Yin Island, everything will proceed according to plan. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind spoke. He was mainly looking at the 5 god generals under him. We can't afford to fail. If we fail once, we will expose Monarch Fei Xue. Now that Sovereign Yin is on guard, even if we ask Imperial Monarch Fei Xue for help again, it will probably be difficult for us to succeed. Don't worry, Emperor. We will listen to the Empyrean Lord's orders. Most of the 5 divine generals have been carefree in the past, but at this moment, they understood the importance. This was the treasure that Great Emperor Shamanic Wind had been looking forward to for many years. Because of the rise of Monarch Fei Xue, he had the highest chance of obtaining it this time. Once he failed, Great Emperor Shamanic Wind would definitely go crazy from anger. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind looked at Dongbua Shui Ying. We will have to rely on Brother Fei Xue later on. The main battle is still up to the Great Emperor and the Heavenly Generals. Dongbua Shui Ying smiled. Without Emperor Fei Xue, we would have been forced out. Only with Monarch Fei Xue will we have the confidence. The 5 divine generals said one after another. Before this Monarch Fei Xue, they did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. An expert who could reach the apex of Realm Heart Greatland and Broken Teeth Mountain Range in the Tao of Soul was something that even the 5 great supremes would look at. After all, compared to the fleshy body and many other techniques, the soul was the foundation of a life. Move! Great Emperor Shamanic Wind lightly shouted. So. The 7 of them dived downwards and entered the Emperor Yin Island. They also came into contact with the cold, dark aura above the island. As their bodies came into contact with it, Dongbua Shui Ying could not help but shiver. There was a coldness that permeated every part of his body. His fleshy body was sufficiently strong, yet he still felt uncomfortable. It is indeed the Emperor Yin Island. It should be ranked in the top 10 islands in the entire Broken Teeth Mountain Range. Dongbua Shui Ying thought. This island contains enormous benefits, but the dangers are huge too. In the history of Realm Heart Greatland, nobody could truly infiltrate this island. Emperor Yin was considered average amongst the 13 emperors, but in terms of power, it was the strongest. It had the most experts under it. By relying on the large group of experts under it, it occupied this sky-floating island with many treasures. Similarly, it was heavily guarded. The moment one entered, he would be discovered very soon. Given the strength of the cultivators in Realm Heart Great Land, Emperor Summer and the others could not even break through the outermost defenses. After passing through the fog-like dark aura, the void fluctuated. Soon, they arrived on the island. The trees and plants on the Emperor Yin Island were all black. They were distorted and weird. Advance. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind did not hesitate. He released an unseen ripple that enveloped Dongbua, Ying, and the other 5. He then transformed into an unseen wind that rapidly traveled forward. His speed was too fast. That bit of speed of Swordmaster could not compare with Great Emperor Shamanic Wind at all. This speed, Dongbua Ying was dumbstruck inwardly. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind was indeed one of the fastest amongst the 8 great emperors from the natives. But this time, his opponent, Emperor Yin, was similarly one of the fastest amongst the 13 emperors. The 7 of them were enveloped by a lump of wind. This lump of wind did not seem to suffer from any obstruction as it traveled through the forest. There are intruders. The security on the Emperor Yin Island was too tight. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, Dongbua Ying, and the others had just entered the island for a few breaths of time before they were discovered by one of the protectors. Elder, intruders have been discovered. The protector immediately reported. He was enveloped by a lump of wind and was traveling at an unfathomable speed. It was so fast that Dongbua Ying could not see his surroundings with his naked eyes. He could only rely on his domain to observe his surroundings. This was the strength of a great emperor. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, who was famous for his speed, could indeed not be seen by kings when he erupted his full speed. Hong, a terrifying shockwave descended as a surging airwave exploded, causing numerous trees to be destroyed, and the shockwave spread out for millions of miles. A towering giant that was covered in scales stood there. He was carrying a huge hammer. His body was so huge that ordinary trees were only as tall as his knees. This scaled giant opened his mouth and revealed a mouthful of sharp teeth. The corners of his mouth curled upwards as he let out a heaven-shaking laughter. His laughter rumbled like waves, causing the surrounding heaven and earth to tremble. Ha! Isn't this Great Emperor Shamanic Wind? Previously, you were beaten up by us and had to escape miserably. Why didn't you learn your lesson and came back to seek a beating? I advise you to scram back. Otherwise, there is no need for my ancestor Yin to make a move. Me and the other elders will beat you up miserably. I remember that your buttocks were kicked by my brother previously, right? Ha ha ha! Dongbua Ying was shocked when he saw this. This scaled giant should be one of the elders in charge of guarding the outer perimeter of the Emperor Yin Island. In terms of strength, he felt that he was even stronger than the emperor that he met on the first sky-floating island in the Broken Teeth mountain range. However, this was normal. After all, he was an elder under one of the 13 emperors, Emperor Yin. Impudent. Arrogant. At that moment, a god general roared out. One of the 5 god generals brought along by Great Emperor Shamanic Wind immediately spat out. Hong, a black flame that was faintly suffused with violet light, immediately spurted out. It engulfed the world. The surrounding trees and ground were instantly incinerated into nothingness the moment they came in contact with this flame. The flame had also enveloped that elder. That scaled giant immediately waved the huge hammer in his hand furiously. But the flame was formless. It immediately wrapped around him, burning that scaled giant to the point of letting out a furious roar. I asked you to scram. Since you don't want to, then just wait and see. The scaled giant had never thought that he, an elder, could fight against Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. Nevertheless, he originally wanted to berate this Great Emperor Shamanic Wind to scram. In history, Even though Great Emperor Shamanic Wind had killed his way here many times, he failed every single time. With a teleportation, the scaled giant disappeared without a trace. Amongst the natives, the rules were strict, but it was much more vulgar within the Death Destruction clan. Even Emperor Yin, one of the 13 emperors who had the most experts under him, could meet him directly. Emperor Yin Palace. This was a palace that imitated the architecture of the natives. It was built along a towering mountain and was relatively tall. Who? The scaled giant entered the palace. He took big steps and soon arrived at a cold and huge palace hall. With a glance, he saw Emperor Yin seated cross-legged on an ice-cold crystalline jade bed. Emperor Yin was slightly shriveled and thin. Its entire body was covered in a layer of scales, and it had a pair of scaled wings. Just like that, it sat cross-legged on the crystalline jade bed. Its pair of sharp claws were placed on its knees. Its back was slightly hunched, and its scaled wings covered more than half its body. Its eyes were closed as if it was in deep sleep. Ancestor Yin, that great Emperor Shamanic Wind, is here again. The scaled giant entered the palace hall. His voice reverberated across the entire palace hall, causing it to tremble slightly. Chapter 1245. Emperor Yan's eyelids twitched before slowly opening. A pair of silver eyes stared at the scaled giant in the hall. Wu Feng is here. That's right. He brought 6 subordinates with him. I appeared and chased him out, but this great Emperor Shamanic Wind actually still made a move. The scaled giant muttered. The minor injuries it suffered from the scorching had naturally healed. Emperor Yan's control over this levitating island had already reached an extremely high level. By relying on the dark aura that permeated the entire levitating island, Emperor Yin sensed a strand of wind swiftly passing through. This strand of wind seemed gentle and silent, but it contained a domineering aura. Umph! The Yin Emperor lightly waved its claws. The scene in midair distorted, revealing a scene on the island. A gust of wind was traveling at high speed. Within this ball of wind, there was great Emperor Shamanic Wind, Dongbua, Shui Ying, and the 5 god generals. At this moment, Dongbua Shui Ying's disguised aura was similar to that of the 5 god generals. Again, you really won't give up. There was a trace of killing intent between Emperor Yan's brows. It was extremely proud, and although its individual strength was only average amongst the 13 emperors, with a large group of experts under its command, it looked down on the other 12 emperors. Its status in the Death Destruction clan was similar to that of Great Emperor North River. Great Emperor North River also had 36 god generals under him, but Great Emperor North River's strength was the closest to that of Supreme. You can't kill me, yet you're here to cause trouble. Emperor Yin was furious. Come here, the Yin Emperor shouted. The voice spread, but it rang in the ears of the elders everywhere on the floating island. So. Hearing you ancestors' order, all elders rushed over. Even the sleeping elders woke up and hurried over. After waiting for a while, in the end, the elders who had awakened were still a bit too slow. Yes, Emperor Yin looked down. Everyone is here. You guys have also seen it. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind has come to my sky-floating island again. There were a total of 55 elders gathered below, and they were all the elders under Emperor Yin. Only the experts from the Death Destruction clan rarely moved outside. Most of them would be cultivating, sleeping, and eating. Even if they went out on missions, it was usually to eat and seize resources. As subordinates of Emperor Yin, they weren't allowed to leave the island without Emperor Yan's permission. At this moment, they also saw the scene that appeared in midair at the side. Within that ball of wind, Great Emperor Shamanic Wind and the other 6 were within it. This Great Emperor Shamanic Wind is truly shameless. Previously, he fled in such a humiliating manner. Yet, he's here again. How many times have you been beaten? It's just that his magic wind bloodline is great at protecting his life. Back then, we asked Emperor Yi for help. You Ancestor and Emperor Yi joined hands, and a group of elders attacked him together, but still, we failed to kill him. The elders were furious. It It would be troublesome to let Wu Feng kill his way into my palace. Emperor Yin sat cross-legged there and instructed, Elder Qi, it's the same plan as before. Lead the 21 elders to obstruct shamanic wind. Sit down now. Yes. A tall and skinny old man with wrinkles all over his face spoke. Elder Qi swept his gaze across the crowd and said, Let's go. Let's go. Let's see what move this great Emperor Shamanic Wind has this time. This group of 22 elders were in the form of humans and beasts. Some had towering physiques, some were short. However, all of their auras were powerful and vigorous. Amongst the 55 elders under Emperor Yin, their fleshly bodies were extremely strong. Because their fleshly bodies were extremely strong, they were able to resist against danger. To deal with great Emperor Shamanic Wind, they had already formed a routine. First, they sent 22 elders with powerful, fleshly bodies over. Every elder had the strength of a god general. With so many of them working together, they could even resist against a sovereign for a period of time. Dealing with God, Emperor Shamanic Wind, and his subordinates was sufficient. They could use this chance to probe the actual situation of Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. Since Great Emperor Shamanic Wind dared to attempt this, he usually had something to rely on. Emperor Yin sat cross-legged on the sparkling jade bed. Looking at the scene in midair, its silvery white eyes were cold. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, Dongbua Shuiying, and the rest traveled at high speed for quite a while before the enemy appeared. Rumble, for an instant, 22 elders teleported out at the same time. The surrounding energy of the world had become chaotic. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, you still dare to come. What technique do you have this time? Previously, I kicked your butt. Do you want to be kicked again? Ha ha ha, receive my axe. The previous time, I ate half a god general's body. That time, if you were slightly slower, your god general would have been eaten alive by us. These elders from the Death Disaster clan acted at the same time. Because they specialized in different techniques, when they erupted at the same time, it caused the surrounding world to turn chaotic like boiling porridge. All sorts of techniques were directed at the other 6 elders by the side of Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. That's right, they were cursing at Great Emperor Shamanic Wind with their mouths. Yet their attacks were avoiding Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, because they knew that attacking Great Emperor Shamanic Wind was pointless. Only by killing a god general under Great Emperor Shamanic Wind would Great Emperor Shamanic Wind truly feel heartache. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind took the initiative to act, his left hand slightly extended forward. At that moment, the world, which had turned into boiling porridge, began forming many streams of air current. These surging streams spread everywhere, enveloping those elders from the Death Disaster clan. Every single elder was restricted by a large amount of air current, causing their strength to be affected. If one carefully analyzed, one could see that each stream of air current was actually formed from 1 trillion strands intertwining with each other. If these strands were used against unparalleled cultivators, they could easily cut through their bodies. But this domain technique merely restricted these elders slightly, causing their strength to drop by 10% to 20%. These elders did not care about it, and continued killing their way over. The 5 god generals under Great Emperor Shamanic Wind acted at the same time. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind also immediately pulled out the blade by his waist. The blade light turned into wind that enveloped those elders. Brother Fei Xue, it is time for you to act. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind looked at Dongbua Shuiying by the side. All right, Dongbua Shuiying chuckled. He had been waiting for this moment. He then turned to the 22 elders who were currently fighting against Great Emperor Shamanic Wind and the others. Wang, Mirage and Illusory Realm, descend. This was the #1 killing technique in the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm. It was the world that every living being desired. Furthermore, this world could even be described as real. This Mirage and Illusory Realm created by Dongbua Shuiying was real to a certain extent. If he was willing to pay the price, any living being within the illusory realm could descend into reality. The 22 elders were originally madly fighting against each other. Yet under the attraction of this terrifying mirage and illusory realm, many elders fell into oblivion one after another. In an instant, 7 elders fell into oblivion. The 11 elders could barely maintain their consciousness. They still had 10% to 20% of their original strength. Only 4 of them could retain about 30% of their original strength. Of course, it was not that these 4 were stronger than God General Skeletal Dragon in terms of willpower. Instead, it was because the fleshy bodies of the Death Destruction clan were generally strong. This batch of elders had even more tyrannical fleshy bodies. Hence, 4 of them could retain 30% of their original strength. In reality, the average willpower of the elders under Emperor Yin was slightly weaker than that of the 36 god generals under Great Emperor North River. Collect. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, who was already prepared, immediately began capturing them. The 7 who fell into oblivion were the simplest. He would simply capture them. The 11 elders only had 10% to 20% of their original strength. There was a gap between them and Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, and now the gap was so huge that it was ridiculous. Under the domain of Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, those strands of airflow entangling them were all captured. They could not resist at all. In the blink of an eye, 18 elders were captured. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind still took out his blade against the 4 elders who could retain about 30% of their original strength. The blade light was like silk. It entangled all the elders from the Death Destruction clan. The elders from the Death Destruction clan could not escape even if they wanted to. Instead, the endless wind permeated into the deepest parts of their bodies. Similarly, with a single blade for a person, all of them were captured alive. Emperor Yin sat high on the sparkling jade bed. Its silvery white eyes were watching the scene that appeared in midair. The other 30 elders were also watching. They wanted to see what techniques Great Emperor Shamanic Wind had this time. Only after they understood the situation would they be able to decide on the next step. What? Emperor Yan's originally calm expression abruptly turned into one of shock. It looked with disbelief at what was happening on the screen. The 18 elders were instantly subdued. The remaining 4 elders were also captured alive with a single blade for a person. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind's blade was too fast. Emperor Yin did not even have the time to react before all the elders it sent out were captured alive. Why? Emperor Yin felt its heart trembling. It had never encountered such a situation before. Even when facing Supremes, it had never fallen into such a state. Ancestor Yin, I know. That white-robed young man must be the legendary Monarch Fei Shue. It must be him, Monarch Fei Shue. Among the 30 elders under Emperor Yin, there was an elder with a beast body who let out a sharp scream. The originally quiet palace hall. Only this elder's shrill scream of, "It must be him. It must be him," Monarch Fei Shue reverberated in the palace hall. Emperor Yin immediately turned to this elder and roared, "Hurry up and tell me who is Monarch Fei Shue. Why have I never heard of him before?" Chapter 1246. Within the quiet palace hall, Emperor Yin and the other elders were staring at this beast-bodied elder. This elder was startled. He immediately prostrated with all 4 hooves and hurriedly said, "Ancestor Yin, not long ago, when I was asleep, I sent my incarnation to meet my brother, Iluo. When chatting with my brother, Iluo mentioned that an amazing Monarch Fei Shue has appeared in the natives. I've heard that his soul technique could even cause emperors to fall into oblivion. He even mentioned that Monarch Fei Shue is a cultivator who came from the realm Heart Great Land. But Iluo felt that this information should not be true. I also feel that it should be a rumor. How could cultivators from the realm Heart Great Land be so powerful? But previously, a group of elders have fallen into a deep sleep, and the remaining elders were all rapidly captured. I could only think of this legendary Monarch Fei Shue. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Emperor Yin gritted its teeth. It revealed its fangs. This elder was slightly terrified. He hurriedly added, "I previously thought it was a rumor. Furthermore, Ancestor Yin is currently cultivating. If there isn't anything important, I wouldn't dare to disturb you." Emperor Yin became silent. The Death Destruction clan had a slow transmission of information. In addition, they were too different from the natives. Hence, it was impossible for them to infiltrate into the natives. Furthermore, the personalities of the experts from the Death Destruction clan were not suitable to be spies. Even though it had many experts under Emperor Yin, and it was considered well-informed, that was only relatively speaking. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind could not afford to lose. This was the closest he got to success. That was why he could change the appearance and aura of Dongbua Shuang. In reality, deep in his heart, Great Emperor Shamanic Wind felt that Emperor Yin might not know of the existence of Monarch Feishue. Where did Monarch Feishue come from? Emperor Yin became silent. It was the strongest among the 13 emperors, and it relied on the group of elders under it. But now, a total of 22 of them were captured alive. With its strength greatly reduced, Emperor Yin started panicking. A cultivator who came from the Realm Heart Great Land actually has a soul technique that could cause emperors to fall into oblivion, and from the looks of it, only a small portion of the elders have fallen into oblivion. The majority of them have some remnant strength. Emperor Yin thought, if it were me, I should have more strength remaining. He had at least 30% of his subordinates remaining. He estimated that he still had 50% of his strength left. With 50% of his strength, he had absolute confidence in escaping from Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. After all, this was a floating island, and it could escape quickly. Elders of the 5 Forbidden Lands, follow me. Emperor Yin stood up. Yes. 5 of the elders with the strongest auras answered respectfully. These 5 were the strongest subordinates of Yin Sovereign. So. Emperor Yin and the rest of the 6 turned into flowing lights and left the hall. After that, all of them disappeared. They traveled through the void to meet Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, Dongbua Shuang, and their team had captured 22 elders. All of them revealed smiles on their faces. The plan this time was considered to have succeeded by more than half. As long as Emperor Yin is a little smarter, we will succeed this time, even if it is foolish enough to continue resisting. Losing 22 elders with incredibly powerful fleshy bodies, the remaining elders would likely be even more helpless against Brother Feishue's soul technique. Only the elders of the 5 Great Forbidden Lands are slightly harder to deal with. Even if we kill our way over, we have a high chance of winning. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind was grinning from ear to ear. He had been looking forward to this day for far too long. Dongbua Shuang had a smile on his face. He was calm. He came here for this transaction. What he cared more about was cultivating in the 7-Bell Pagoda so that he could reach the final realm in one go. As for dealing with the Death Destruction clan, honestly speaking, the 3 great supremes of the Death Destruction clan were all evil devils. Of the 13 emperors, other than one who remained low profile and rarely acted, which of the other 12 did not kill countless people, devouring countless natives? This Death Destruction clan feels quite similar to the Destruction Devils. They are both born to kill and devour. The only difference is that the Destruction Devils are nurtured by the Supreme Law, and they carry the mission of destroying an era. Dongbua Shuang thought. As for the Death Destruction clan, 99% of them with low intelligence would never leave the sky-floating islands. As for the Apex Death Destruction clan, they have high intelligence and pursue strength. It is fine if they don't leave the sky-floating islands, but the moment they do, they would simply devour everything. Comparatively speaking, the natives were slightly more normal. They had male and female descendants, and they had emotions too. They were quite similar to cultivators. The Death Destruction clan was purely nurtured naturally on the sky-floating islands. They are here. They are here. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, Dongbua Shuang, and the 5 god generals looked ahead. 6 figures appeared out of thin air in front of them. The leading figure was thin. Its body was covered in scales. At this moment, its scaled wings were unfolded. When it fully unfolded its scaled wings, it was shockingly huge. It was much, much larger than the 5 elders of the Forbidden Lands beside it. Instead, its body was only 1,000th the size of its wings. Emperor Yin unfolded its wings. Its silver eyes swept across Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. Following that, it landed on Dongbua Shuang. "Are you Monarch Fei Xue?" The first thing Emperor Yin said after appearing was to ask Monarch Fei Xue, "Have you heard of the name of Brother Fei Xue before?" Great Emperor Shamanic Wind was slightly startled. He celebrated inwardly that he had asked Dongbua Shuang to conceal his aura and change his appearance. Dongbua Shuang no longer disguised himself after seeing that. He regained his normal aura and appearance of a white-robed young man from the Realm Heart Great Land. At the same time, he chuckled. It said that the transmission of information within the Death Destruction clan is slow. Who would have thought that Emperor Yin would know of my name so quickly? It's an elder under me who knows of the name of Monarch Fei Xue. Emperor Yin was too lazy to care about Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. Instead, it continued looking at Dongbua Shuang, saying it thought that the legend regarding Monarch Fei Xue was just a rumor. Only after seeing the power displayed by Monarch Fei Xue did it know that everything is real. It's not an injustice for me to lose before Monarch Fei Xue. You admit your defeat? Great Emperor Shamanic Wind chuckled. Shamanic Wind, how many times have you failed previously? This time, I didn't lose to you. Instead, I lost to Monarch Fei Xue. Emperor Yin said, he is the first in the history of Realm Heart Great Land and Broken Teeth Mountain Range to cause an emperor to fall. It is normal for me to lose to such an expert. Dongbua Shuang was startled. He had interacted with many members of the Death Destruction clan, yet he had never met someone who spoke so logically. Monarch Fei Xue, why is there a need for you to help this Shamanic Wind? In terms of treasures, my Death Destruction clan naturally has the most. We're the race born on the sky-floating islands. Emperor Yin said, if you help me, I'll help you get whatever treasures you want. What do you think? Roping me in? Dongbua Shuang was even more startled. Given the personality of the Death Destruction clan, even if the higher-ups were intelligent, they would not be willing to compromise, much less take the initiative to rope the other party in. Emperor Yin was indeed unique, but according to the intelligence, that was indeed the case. Emperor Yin was unique even among the 13 emperors. It deliberately made the emperors of the Death Destruction clan work for it, becoming its subordinates and elders. Of course, part of the reason was that its blood was useful to these elders. But another reason was that it knew how to make use of these advantages. Hence, it became the one with the greatest authority among the 13 emperors. You don't have what Brother Fei Xue wants. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind's expression changed slightly. He was afraid that Dongbua Shuang would agree to it. What do cultivators want? Emperor Yin looked at Dongbua Shuang. I've heard that you cultivators care about supreme-graded secret treasures the most, and also your realm of cultivation? Haha, speaking of which, a good friend of mine has a supreme-graded secret treasure. I can even think of ways to help you find 1 or 2 supreme-graded secret treasures. I can gift all of them to you. As for your realm of cultivation, it's just some supplementary items. Everything is fine. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind's expression changed. How about helping me? You're a cultivator and not a natives. Helping Great Emperor Shamanic Wind is helping you, and helping me is also helping you. Emperor Yin spread out its enormous wings. It spoke in a very friendly manner. Clearly, it was paying more attention to this Monarch Fei Xue. I've disappointed Emperor Yin. Dongbua Shuang said. Emperor Yan's expression changed at that moment. Its eyes became much more gloomy. Today is the first day. Chapter 1247. Being rejected by Dongbua Shuang. Emperor Yin felt disappointed and furious. But Great Emperor Shamanic Wind revealed a joyous look. He knew that with Dongbua Shuang standing on his side, he was practically guaranteed to win, unless Emperor Yin chose to fight to the death. Why are you helping him and not me? Emperor Yan's silver eyes stared coldly at Dongbua Shuang. He suppressed his anger. I will do my best to help you get what you want. Emperor Yin, it is better for you to stop struggling. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind sneered from the side. Since Brother Feishu isn't helping you, then you should stop making things difficult for him. Donghua Shui Ying stood by the side. His eyes were calm. Emperor Yin understood that it was impossible to persuade him. Have you made your decision? At this moment, Great Emperor Shamanic Wind felt delighted. Other than the excitement of getting the treasure, he also felt delighted that he could force Emperor Yin to lower its head. Because he had fought with Emperor Yin for too long. He had been defeated time and time again, and now he could finally suppress Emperor Yin. He forced Emperor Yin to make a decision. This made Great Emperor Shamanic Wind feel delighted. Decision? Emperor Yin folded its scaled wings and wrapped around its body. Its silver eyes stared at Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. You want to fight? All right. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind's eyes revealed madness. He placed his hand on the saber by his waist. Let's see how many elders under you can survive after this battle. At the very least, all those captured by me will die. Most likely, your ranking among the 13 emperors will drop after this battle. Emperor Yin became silent for a moment before asking, How much do you want? Great Emperor Shamanic Wind chuckled. It was a brilliant smile, not much. Since I have captured 22 elders, I only need 22 drops. Are you mad? Emperor Yan's expression changed. 22 drops? Do you know how long it takes to condense a drop of flowing light spiritual milk? I'm not mad, Great Emperor Shamanic Wind said. Over the years, you, Emperor Yin, should not be unable to take out 22 drops, right? If you give it to me, we will leave. Furthermore, we will return all the captured elders to you. At most 9 drops. Emperor Yin gritted its teeth. At most, we'll just start a war. Our Death Destruction clan can teleport on the sky-floating islands, and you can't even catch up to us. You won't even get a single drop of flowing light spiritual milk. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind's expression turned cold. Then more than half of the elders under you will die. As for the flowing light spiritual milk, the spirit pool of the spiritual milk, and some other treasure lands on this floating island, don't blame me for directly destroying them. The Yin Emperor was even more furious now. I'll take a step back. 20 drops. Not even a drop less. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind purposely said that he would take a step back and give them a way out. In reality, he didn't take much less. Emperor Yan's expression turned ugly. He looked at Donghua Shui Ying by the side. The moment they truly fell out, the consequences would be unpredictable. Emperor Yin looked at Donghua Shui Ying and said solemnly, Monarch Feishu, this time, I'll give you 20 drops of flowing light spiritual milk. Can you guarantee that you won't help Great Emperor Shamanic Wind to snatch treasures for me? Rest assured, this sky-floating island only is flowing light spiritual milk that I fancy. I guarantee that I won't come again, Great Emperor Shamanic Wind said. At the same time, he transmitted a message to Donghua Shui Ying. I can guarantee that. Donghua Shui Ying nodded. Emperor Yin nodded slightly. Monarch Feishu and Great Emperor Shamanic Wind were extraordinary existences. They would not easily go against their words. All right. Emperor Yin glanced at Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. Shamanic Wind, you are really lucky to be able to invite Monarch Feishu to help you. Otherwise, you would never be able to obtain these 20 drops of flowing light spiritual milk. Previously, Emperor Yin had traded with Great Emperor Shamanic Wind for a single drop of flowing light spiritual milk. It had squeezed out all of Great Emperor Shamanic Wind's treasures. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind couldn't accept it. One couldn't blame Emperor Yin for asking for such a high price. In the entire Broken Teeth mountain range, amongst the pinnacle experts, the flowing light spiritual milk was the most effective for Great Emperor Shamanic Wind's Shamanic Wind bloodline. To other great emperors, it was much less attractive. Of course, to ordinary emperors, it was still very helpful. Like the elders under Emperor Yin, they would only be able to obtain a drop after making great contributions. So. Emperor Yin waved its claws. Immediately, bottles flew out. There was a total of 20 bottles, Each bottle contains a drop of flowing light spiritual milk. When the 5 elders behind Emperor Yin saw this, they were slightly indignant. The 5 of them had only obtained 2 drops at most. And today, their leader, the head of the 13 emperors, Emperor Yin, was actually forced to lower its head and hand over 20 drops of flowing light spiritual milk. This was definitely a great humiliation. I finally obtained it. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind waved his hand, causing these 20 bottles to arrive in front of him. He immediately pulled out the corks and inspected them. As he did so, his eyes were shining. He had been waiting for this for far too long. Emperor Yin is truly straightforward. I'm not a stingy person either. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind chuckled. He immediately released the 22 captured elders. Since you have obtained the flowing light spiritual milk, it's time for you to leave. Emperor Yin looked at him coldly. Go, go, go. Emperor Yan's mood isn't good now. Let's not stay here any longer. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind grinned. Brother Feishua, let us go. So, the group of 7 immediately turned into a lump of wind and left. Emperor Yin watched silently. The 5 elders of the Forbidden Lands and the 22 newly released elders behind him were all silent. This time, they had truly lost their face. In the entire Death Disaster clan, Emperor Yan's status was second only to the 3 Great Supremes, and he was actually forced to lower his head and hand over the treasures. Ancestor Yin, you could have directly teleported away and ignore their threats. Yet because of us, if not for Ancestor Yin, we would have been killed by Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. These elders also spoke one after another, expressing their gratitude and flattering Yin Emperor. After all, the reason why they were loyal to Emperor Yin and even addressed him as Ancestor Yin was because the blood of Emperor Yin was extremely helpful to them. That was why they were so loyal to him. There's no need to say anymore. That Shamanic Wind will most likely spread the news of us losing our face this time. The entire Broken Teeth Mountain range will know about it. Emperor Yin coldly said, but I didn't lose in the hands of Shamanic Wind. Instead, I lost in the hands of that monarch Feishua. Saying that, Emperor Yin directly teleported away. The remaining 5 elders and 22 elders exchanged glances. They knew that Emperor Yan's mood wasn't good. All of them obediently left. They did not have any thoughts of taking revenge at all, because that monarch Feishua was simply too frightening. The weaker ones had fallen into a deep slumber. The stronger ones were greatly weakened and could be easily trampled or captured alive. Shamanic Wind World. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind returned and was filled with excitement. He even gifted a pile of treasures to Dongbua Shui Ying to express his gratitude. It was also to maintain a good relationship with him, because a terrifying soul expert who could greatly weaken them would have an obvious effect on the situation. This is the 7 Bell Tower. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, Dongbua Shui Ying, and the 8 god generals arrived in front of Tower. 7 Bell Tower. The tower looked very ordinary. 7 bells hung on the sides of the tower. From the surface, one could not see anything special about it. Brother Feishua only has to enter and control your energy to push one of the bells. The 7 bells will emit a sound, and the sound will lead Brother Feishua into an extremely special cultivation state. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind said, however, you can only send 1 clone inside. I understand. Thank you, Great Emperor. Dongbua Shui Ying was filled with anticipation. I should be the one thanking Brother Feishua. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind laughed. One could see Dongbua Shui Ying, who stood there immediately producing an avatar that walked into the 7 Bell Tower. The soul of this avatar was improving, all the way until it reached the peak of perfection. But of the many avatars that Dongbua Shui Ying brought with him, quite a few avatars had their souls weakening, because there was an unseen law restricting everything. Currently, in the Realm Heart Great Land, of all the avatars of Dongbua Shui Ying, the avatar guarding Feishua City, the avatar under the Burning Heart God Tree, and the avatar that was currently heading to the 7 Bell Tower, the soul of these 3 avatars were at the peak of perfection. The other avatars that were fighting outside could only maintain their souls at 70%. This was sufficient, because he had fused with the core blood of the myriad tentacles dragon mother. Donghua Shui Ying's soul was exceptionally strong. Even if it was only at 70%, he could easily execute Tao of Mirage and illusory realm killing techniques. He even had excess energy to execute other techniques. Within the pagoda, when Donghua Shuang walked in, he discovered how unique this pagoda was. The internal structure was incredibly mysterious. There were many complicated edges within. Just sitting down, Donghua Shuang could not help but relax slightly. It felt as if the restriction his fleshy body had on his soul had lessened. The Seven Bell Tower is known as the #1 supreme treasure for meditation and cultivation. Let me see how mystical it is. With a thought, Donghua Shuang controlled the void and lightly pushed one of the hanging little bells. Ding, ding, dang, dang. A sweet ringing sound the bell sounded. Chapter 1248. When he first heard the sound of the bell, he only felt that it was pleasing to the ear. However, as the other bells rang one after another, the different sounds mixed together and transmitted into the pagoda. When the sounds reverberated within the unique structure of the pagoda, it produced a strange ripple that affected Donghua Shui Ying's soul. Under the guidance of the ripple, his soul gradually entered a strange state. Ooh, silence. His soul was unprecedentedly calm. There was a formless ripple seeping into his soul, maintaining everything. Can a soul be this quiet? It was as if everything had disappeared in the boundless darkness. The rules and everything else had disappeared. This kind of darkness and silence permeated every corner of the soul. The soul was so quiet that it seemed to have fallen into a standstill. At this moment, there was only his soul, only himself. With just a thought, he could easily sense his physical body. Xiao Chen's perception of his physical body was unprecedentedly strong. It was as if a boundless continent was right before him. The native experts used the Seven Bell Pagoda to research their own bodies and bloodlines. As for Donghua Shuang, there was no need for him to study it. This was because the evolution of his body was all due to his understanding of the nomological laws. Unlike the natives who had the bloodline of chaotic origin life forms in their bodies, they could cultivate their bloodline energy and obtain unfathomable strength. Toss your body aside. A single thought, the incomparably quiet soul easily isolated itself from the physical body. This isolation, his soul sensed that he had sunk into the true, boundless darkness. There was nothing in the darkness, not even a physical body. However, in the extreme quietness of his soul. However, his mind was unbelievably active. I've never felt so comfortable before. It's as if my soul has no restraints, and my potential has been dug out. I should cultivate the Tao of Void. A large amount of understanding of the Void Tao's profoundness immediately appeared in his mind. He kept deducing, and many strange thoughts appeared in his mind. His cultivation speed was much faster than normal. It was as if his soul had always been affected by the paramount laws and his fleshly body. He had been affected by too many things, and the effects of his cultivation were far inferior to what he was now. This is too amazing. He sighed inwardly. Following that, his mind was extremely active, and he quickly studied the Tao of Void. Previously, he had created 5 great Void Tao killer moves, a large amount of accumulations, and some of the fortuitous encounters he had obtained from the 500 floating islands appeared in his mind at this moment, colliding with each other. His thoughts were unrestrained as he thought in different directions. He was cultivating rapidly in different directions. Outside the tower, Donghua Shui Ying, Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, and the 8 god generals were all here. Peculiar, right? Great Emperor Shamanic Wind looked at Donghua Shui Ying. How magical! A complicated expression appeared on Donghua Shui Ying's face. The clone that was cultivating in the pagoda was naturally connected to the memories of all his other clones. This was also the reason why the feeling was so unique. The avatar cultivating in the Seven Bell Pagoda, seemed to have its soul and thoughts in another dimension. In that dimension, its thoughts were extremely active and its soul was unrestrained. Its cultivation speed was extremely fast. As for the rest of Donghua Shui Ying's clones, they were one dimension lower. Although their memories could be exchanged, their thoughts could not keep up. To think that there's such a treasure. Donghua Shui Ying looked at the Seven Bell Pagoda in front of him as his eyes lit up. In the Broken Teeth Mountain Range, the Seven Bell Pagoda was only used to assist the natives in comprehending their own bloodlines. But to cultivators, it was much more helpful. This seemed to have unlocked some sort of shackles, allowing him to dig out his theoretical talent and potential. Haha, Brother Feishua. Where are you planning to go next? Great Emperor Shamanic Wind chuckled. If there's anything you need my help with, just tell me. There is indeed a matter. But there's no need for Great Emperor to act. Donghua Shui Ying looked at an armored god general by the side. God General Stone Light, I plan to explore some sky-floating islands. Some of the emperors from the Death Disaster clan on those sky-floating islands could resist against my illusory realm technique. I'm not their opponent, even if they are left with 10% to 20% of their original strength. I'll need God General Stone Light's help. You can choose any treasure on the island. There's no need to trouble Big Brother Stone Light for such a matter. Let me do it. Monarch Feishua, I can do it too. With you around, I'm confident of fighting against any of the 13 emperors. How can we let Big Brother Stone Light do such a good thing? At that moment, the other god generals hurriedly said. They were slightly envious and jealous. Firstly, accompanying Monarch Feishua to explore the sky-floating islands was absolutely something they dreamed of. With Monarch Feishua around, the only ones they feared in the Death Disaster clan were the three Great Supremes. They did not place the others in their eyes. And did they not hear the words, choose any treasure? Even though they were god generals, they coveted some of the treasures on the sky-floating islands too. It's just that they were not confident of getting them. Secondly, by adventuring together, their friendship would naturally deepen. This was a good opportunity to befriend Monarch Feishua. Even if they did not get any treasures, it was worth it. With a good friend like Monarch Feishua around, nobody in the entire Broken Teeth Mountain Range dared to easily become enemies with them. Monarch Feishua is asking for my help. Don't snatch it from me. God General Stone Light roared. Why, you want to compete? Donghua Shui Ying chuckled. He felt that it was sufficient to have the help of a god general. Furthermore, these were the subordinates of Great Emperor Shamanic Wind. He could not possibly bring them away, right? And in terms of strength, God General Stone Light was the strongest amongst the 8 great god generals. Hence, in the following days, Donghua Shui Ying brought God General Stone Light along to explore the sky-floating islands. He had detailed intelligence. Naturally, he would go to those islands with the mysterious eyes. He wanted to memorize more of the internal illusory realm structure of those mysterious eyes. Even though he had created the number 1 killing technique in the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm, since these mysterious eyes were helpful to him, he naturally had to memorize more of them. That way, his path to the final realm in the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm would be smoother. And in the Broken Teeth Mountain Range, a piece of news spread. With the help of Monarch Feishua, Great Emperor Shamanic Wind killed his way into the Emperor Yin Island and captured 22 elders alive, forcing Emperor Yin to lower its head and hand over the flowing light's spiritual milk. This piece of news rapidly spread. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind even added fuel to the fire. He wanted to let everyone know that his relationship with Monarch Feishua was extremely good. At the same time, he was using this to vent his anger. Over the long years, he had lost to Emperor Yin too many times. This time, he finally forced Emperor Yin to lower its head. Such a matter naturally had to be spread across the entire Broken Teeth Mountain Range. Otherwise, how unpleasant would it be to do things sneakily? This Monarch Feishua has a huge influence on our strength. Emperor Yin was forced to lower its head in his sky-floating island. He captured 22 elders alive. In front of this emperor, the number of divine generals means nothing. Discussions were going on everywhere. Dongwu Ying's fame was also growing. The three great supremes from the Death Destruction clan and the two great supremes from the natives were paying close attention to this monarch Fei Xue. As the news spread, it also reached the ears of the cultivators in Realm Heart Great Land. Like Emperor Summer and Undying Underworld Emperor, they were extremely concerned about the Broken Teeth mountain range. They would also frequently scout for information regarding the natives, especially Undying Underworld Emperor. Ever since he failed to become a chaotic origin life form, he had entered the Broken Teeth mountain range many times. This time, he was also the first unparalleled existences in Realm Heart Great Land to know about the matter of Monarch Fei Xue. What? Is what you said true? The handsome young man, wearing a gray robe, said with disbelief. When he was in Realm Heart Great Land, he always wore a luxurious golden robe and a crown. But in Broken Teeth Mountain Range, Undying Underworld Emperor was much more low profile. He had no choice. He was not qualified to be flamboyant in front of the natives. More importantly, he did not have avatars like Dongwu Ying and Emperor Summer. Of course it's true. The news has already spread for a few days. A plump old man was drinking wine opposite him. He said, "Underworld Emperor, didn't you say that you are the #1 cultivator in Realm Heart Great Land? Why do I feel that you are much weaker than Monarch Fei Xue?" Before Monarch Fei Xue, most emperors would simply sink into oblivion. God generals would even tremble in fear. Even great emperors would fight to befriend him. Even the 5 great supremes do not dare to slight him. Undying Underworld Emperor became taciturn. Jealousy? He did feel a strand of jealousy. If he had such a high status in Broken Teeth Mountain Range, things would be much easier for him. Other than jealousy, he was also anxious. His mirage and illusory realm has been cultivated to such a stage. There were some who reached the level 2 Cosmos God realm in the Soul realm in the entire Realm Heart Great Land. But none of them were this frightening, unless he reached the final realm? Or did he obtain a supreme, secret importation? Undying Underworld Emperor felt flustered. He did not know that nobody had ever reached the final realm in the Tao of Soul. Naturally, there was no supreme, secret importation. Since he could cause emperors to sink into oblivion, even if we final realm cultivators could resist against his mirage and illusory realm, we would still have to divert quite a lot of our heart force. Undying Underworld Emperor thought. Cultivators of the final realm might have an amazing heart realm, but their ability to resist against the mirage and illusory realm would at most be comparable to the 5 great supremes. Unquestionably, they would have to divert some of their heart force, weakening their strength. What should I do? He has many avatars. Many experts would fight to befriend him in Broken Teeth Mountain Range, and he has many resources. Furthermore, he has the Tao of Void and a chaotic origin weapon. With his accumulations and the opportunities in Broken Teeth Mountain Range, the chances of him reaching the final realm would be much higher. If this continues, he will only become stronger. Undying Underworld Emperor felt an unprecedented pressure. Chapter 1249. The expression of Undying Underworld Emperor changed constantly. This news was a huge blow to him. Although Dongwu Ying had ruined his plan to refine the Deathwalker, deep in his heart, he did not think that Dongwu Ying would be a threat to him. Firstly, it was unknown how long it would take for this monarch Fei Xue to break through to the final realm. One could see how many cultivators in Realm Heart Great Land reached the final realm, and it was simply too difficult to reach the final realm. Secondly, even if he reached the final realm, he would own a chaotic origin weapon. Undying Underworld Emperor felt that even if he ignited the blood in his heart, he would still be comparable to Ying. Emperor Fei Xue couldn't possibly threaten his life. Even if he was not willing to ignite too much blood in his heart, he could still escape into the Broken Teeth Mountain Range since he did not have any worries towards the Realm Heart Great Land. At his level, hence, he chose to pursue the path of becoming a chaotic origin life form. The previous attempt had failed, and now only the Broken Tooth Mountain Range was left. At the worst, I'll just hide in the Broken Teeth mountain range. Undying Underworld Emperor was originally calm, but now he was dumbfounded. This monarch Feishue is too famous in the Broken Teeth mountain range. Many parties are fighting to befriend him. If I were to escape into the Broken Teeth mountain range, he would only need to issue an order, and several great emperors and even supremes would be willing to act for him. By then, I'm dead for sure. Undying Underworld Emperor felt anxious. It isn't safe in the Realm Heart Great Land either. It seems I have underestimated this monarch Feishue. Once he reaches the final realm, wielding a chaotic origin weapon would not be any weaker than me burning my heart blood. He still has a terrifying mirage and illusory realm technique that could cause even emperors to fall into it. I'm afraid I'll be weakened because of this. Undying Underworld Emperor thought, the moment my strength falls, I won't be his opponent and will be chased after by him. Once the heart blood in my body is exhausted, my strength will fall greatly once more. At that time, it won't just be a matter of being chased, I'll probably lose my life. Undying Underworld Emperor could totally imagine that scene. Most importantly, reason told him that this scene was very likely to come true. With Imperial Monarch Feishue's terrifying speed of cultivation, his natural talent was obviously extremely monstrous. In terms of the Void Dao, Feishue's city's battle proved that Feishue sovereign emperor's accumulations were very deep. He also had a supreme secret technique in his hands. Since he was so famous in the Broken Teeth mountain range, it was likely that many world lords would take the initiative to offer him all sorts of benefits. Some of the opportunities on the floating island were also within reach. With the help of all parties, it wouldn't be long before Feishue reached the ultimate realm. If he reaches the ultimate realm, I'll be finished. If I fight him head-on, he still has illusions. If I burn my heart blood, I'm afraid I'll definitely die. Escape to the Broken Tooth mountain range? He's seeking his own death. There's no way out. I have nowhere else to go. The eyes of Undying Underworld Emperor turned cold and mad. He would not admit defeat so easily. In the past, he had fought against terrifying experts from different origin worlds and civilizations. He had even pondered over how to refine the Death Walker and succeeded in doing so. That was also a great achievement. In the end, after sacrificing the Death Walker, he successfully escaped back to his hometown Realm Heart Great Land. One had to know that some experts who were not any weaker than him and were even more outstanding ultimately fell into that world of despair. Monarch Feishue, I'll see how you choose. Undying Underworld Emperor made his decision in his heart. I'll return first. We'll meet again in the future. Undying Underworld Emperor stood. Why are you in such a rush this time? The plump old man chuckled as he drank. Amen. It's time for me to return. Undying Underworld Emperor did not say anything else. He turned around and left the place. If he knew that Domeboy Shui Ying was famous in the Broken Tooth mountain range, he would not have entered the Broken Tooth mountain range because it was too dangerous. Undying Underworld Emperor stealthily returned to the Realm Heart Great Land. In the Realm Heart Great Land, there was a lore restriction set by Yuan that prevented true apex experts from entering the Broken Tooth mountain range. Naturally, nobody could threaten him. But this was temporary. The moment Domeboy Shui Ying reached the final realm, a calamity would descend upon him. Hoo, the gale was howling. Snowflakes were flying everywhere. Domeboy Shui Ying sat by himself under the pavilion drinking wine. The wine was warm. There was an unseen fluctuation surrounding the pavilion that prevented the gale from invading. Snowflakes swirled around the place. It was dark, yet the pavilion remained quiet. The fragrance of wine pervaded the air. Amen. Domeboy Shui Ying frowned when he looked over. A fluctuation descended. The surrounding wind stopped. The snow scattered. That strand of fluctuation gradually condensed world energy above the lake before condensing into a figure. It was a handsome young man wearing a luxurious golden robe and a crown. Undying Underworld Emperor? He came to my place? Domeboy Shui Ying was startled. There were unparalleled existences who came to visit his Feishue city too. But Undying Underworld Emperor's visit had exceeded his expectations. After all, The entire realm heart, great land, knew of the enmity between the two. I wonder why Underworld Emperor came to my place. Dongbua Shui Ying asked. Aren't you going to invite me over? Undying Underworld Emperor had a handsome expression. He chuckled. Dongbua Shui Ying frowned. If it were Undying Underworld Emperor's true body, Dongbua Shui Ying would simply sweep his chaotic origin weapon, Azure River Spear, over before the other party could even approach Feishua City. But it was just an incarnation. Naturally, he did not place it in his eyes. Since the other party came with such magnanimity, Dongbua Shui Ying, would naturally welcome him. Underworld Emperor, have a seat. Dongbua Shui Ying remained seated there. He did not stand up to welcome the other party. He did not like this Undying Underworld Emperor. Ha ha! Undying Underworld Emperor chuckled as he walked over and sat down. He casually picked up the wine flask by the side. With a wave of his hand, he condensed a wine cup using world energy. He poured the wine for himself and drank a mouthful before saying, "This wine is ordinary. But since it is the wine of Monarch Feishua, the value of this wine has increased by a few times." Dongbua Shui Ying carefully observed this Undying Underworld Emperor. The other party actually spoke so politely and even flattered him. That was unlike the personality of Undying Underworld Emperor. Previously, both parties had a huge enmity, and Shui Ying had disrupted his plans. Undying Underworld Emperor was so furious that he wanted to destroy the entire Feishua city just to vent his anger. And now, he was even flattering him. Monarch Feishua, we do have some enmity in the past, Undying Underworld Emperor said, but speaking of which, it is your personality that is too unyielding. You can't tolerate any devils. You aren't targeting me alone. Instead, you are targeting all devils. Yes, Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. It's good that Underworld Emperor understands. But ultimately, you have disrupted my plans. Undying Underworld Emperor said, in this path of cultivation, you have cut off my Dao path. That is an irreconcilable enmity between us. Dongbua Shui Ying continued, listening calmly. But now, this enmity can be resolved. Undying Underworld Emperor chuckled. How? Dongbua Shui Ying asked. Ha! Monarch Feishua has hidden himself extraordinarily deeply. Currently, your name is spread across the entire Broken Tooth Mountain range. 13 emperors, 8 great emperors, 5 great supremes. I believe none of them would dare to look down on you. You can easily become a VIP of the supremes. Even great emperors would likely take the initiative to invite you and present you with gifts. Undying Underworld Emperor said. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyebrows twitched. He chuckled. Underworld Emperor's information network is really fast. It's only because the natives in our realm heart great land do not interact much. Otherwise, this news would have long spread. In a few years, even unparalleled existences would know about it. Undying Underworld Emperor said, the reason why I came here is because I hope that Monarch Feishua can help me. Once you help me, we'll be friends from then on. I won't go and slaughter those weak ants anymore. How can I help you? Dongbua Shui Ying said. It would not be good if they fell out. If Undying Underworld Emperor truly decided to slaughter, even Dongbua Shui Ying could not stop him. Help me gather 15 dark flowers before sending me into the Snake Tooth Corridor. Undying Underworld Emperor said, as long as you help me with this, the enmity between us will be resolved. I can even agree to any benefits you seek from me. I can even do anything you need me to do. As for why I will no longer slaughter, as long as I enter the Snake Tooth Corridor, I will no longer return to the Realm Heart Great Land. Naturally, I will no longer bring chaos to the Realm Heart Great Land. Dongbua Shui Ying's expression changed when he heard that. Every single dark flower was incredibly precious. It was not any less than a drop of flowing light spiritual milk. But with his influence in the Broken Tooth Mountain range, it was still possible for him to obtain 15 dark flowers. But the Snake Tooth Corridor was a legendary forbidden ground in the entire Broken Tooth Mountain range. Want to enter? That was merely a legend recorded in the intelligence reports of the natives. Perhaps only the 5 great supremes had entered before. Practically none of the great emperors had entered before. If he wanted to enter the mysterious snake-tooth corridor, he would most likely have to seek help from the 5 great supremes. Most supremes would enter if they were fated to do so. Even great emperors could not obtain such benefits. You wish to enter the snake-tooth corridor? Dongbua Shuiying looked at Undying Underworld Emperor. This request was unbelievably high. Chapter 1250. Yes. The eyes of Undying Underworld Emperor were blazing. Given Monarch Feishue's current status in Broken Tooth Mountain Range, I believe you should be able to do it. Emperor Hades, how much do you know about the Snake-Tooth Corridor? Dongbua Shuiying felt puzzled in his heart. Undying Underworld Emperor actually thought that he could obtain an opportunity to enter the Snake-Tooth Corridor from him. Undying Underworld Emperor said solemnly, "The Snake-Tooth Corridor is a legendary forbidden ground in the Broken Tooth Mountain Range. Hearsay, it contains the secret to becoming a chaotic origin life form. Even the 5 great supremes have entered it to search for it." Right, the 5 great supremes all went to search. Dongbua Shuiying said, "It is said that there is a secret to becoming a chaotic origin life form. Which of the 5 great supremes do not wish to become a chaotic origin life form?" It was impossible for them to give this opportunity to others. Even the 8 great emperors and 13 emperors desired it. I can tell you clearly, in the entire Broken Tooth Mountain Range, the opportunity to enter the Snake-Tooth Corridor had never been traded. There are no deals between the Supremes, and it has never been bestowed to the 8 great emperors or the 13 emperors. Never. I, Imperial Emperor Feishue, am still of some use in front of the 8 great emperors and the 13 sovereigns. However, in front of the 5 great paragons, the most they could do was look at him in a different light. You want to get a chance to enter the Snake-Tooth Corridor? Dream on. Dongbua Shuiying said calmly. He wasn't lying. Because he had obtained sufficient intelligence from Great Emperor North River and Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, other great emperors even came to invite him recently. He was definitely one of the top members of the Broken Teeth Mountain Range, and he knew many secrets. 5 Supremes. His status was very high. The 13 emperors and the 8 great emperors were still fighting. However, the 5 Supremes didn't care much about power. They didn't even care about treasures. Since they had already reached the peak of the martial Emperor realm, the opportunities on the floating islands were of little use to them. The only thing that could be of great use to the 5 great supremes was the legendary Forbidden Area, the Snake-Tooth Corridor. What they were fighting for was the opportunity to enter the Snake-Tooth Corridor, because only by entering the Snake-Tooth Corridor could they become a chaotic origin life form. Otherwise, cultivating to become a chaotic origin life form was simply too difficult. Every opportunity to enter was very precious, and it was even enough for the supreme martial artists to kill each other. There was no way he would give up this opportunity. How could he give it up? For a cultivator like Dongbua Shuiying to ask for such an opportunity, it was simply a dream. His illusions might have a strong effect on the great emperors. However, its influence on the 5 great supremes would be further reduced. If the strength of the 5 supremes was only reduced by 20 to 30%, they still did not fear the other supremes. Rule over many worlds? Fight? They did not care about it. They only pursued one thing: jumping out of the cage and becoming a chaotic origin life form. No chance at all. The expression of Undying Underworld Emperor changed. What he could interact with in the Broken Teeth Mountain Range could not be considered to be at the apex. He only knew bits and pieces. No chance. Dongbua Shuiying shook his head. Emperor Hades, you can't enter the Snake-Tooth Corridor even if you beg for it. He could only fight for it himself. There might be opportunities to enter on the floating islands, and we can fight for them. Fight? Why should I fight for it? Undying Underworld Emperor looked at Dongbua Shuiying. If I were to refine a Death Walker, I would naturally be able to compete for it by relying on it. But now, how can I compete? Facing the 5 great supremes, I don't even have the chance to escape. I can help you gather 15 dark flowers. Dongbua Shuiying said, but you have to swear an oath first. Ha ha! Undying Underworld Emperor guffawed. He laughed madly. Monarch Facia, you are truly a joke. After cultivating to my current realm, how difficult would it be to take another step forward? Ordinary treasures are not helpful to me at all. Even the dark flowers are merely the icing on the cake. If I can't enter the snake-tooth corridor, everything will be pointless. Everything will be pointless. Originally, I could have entered. With the Death Walker, I could have gotten a chance to enter. Undying Underworld Emperor stared at Dongbua Shuang. His eyes were filled with madness. But it is you who destroyed the sacrificial ritual. Dongbua Shuang calmly looked at him. He looked at the maddened, undying Underworld Emperor. I want to perform another sacrificial ritual. Are you going to obstruct me? Undying Underworld Emperor asked madly. Obstruct me? Dongbua Shuang nodded. If you obstruct me, I'll similarly slaughter countless sentient beings. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. I won't obstruct you. A single sacrificial ritual will still involve the lives of many sentient beings. If you slaughter too many, Yuan will naturally send down the punishment. Furthermore, if the other party succeeded in refining the Death Walker, nobody would be able to obstruct this Underworld Emperor, even though he did not know how strong the Death Walker was. Undying Underworld Emperor's original strength was so exaggerated that he could fight against god generals. Given how much he wanted to refine the Death Walker, it would definitely surpass his current strength. Otherwise, why would he bother to refine it? The moment he succeeded, nobody would be able to obstruct him. Very good, very good. Undying Underworld Emperor turned mad. His figure soon dissipated. The negotiation collapsed. This is troublesome. Dongbua Shuang muttered to himself. But he had no choice. Dongbua Shuang, did not have the capability to request for an opportunity to enter the Snake-Tooth Corridor and give it to Undying Underworld Emperor. At another location, seated on a throne in a towering palace hall, the eyes of Undying Underworld Emperor abruptly ignited with flames. Hong! The surface of his body was engulfed in flames. The flames spread out in all directions. The female attendants in the palace hall turned into nothingness amidst their terror. This entire palace hall had been burnt into ruins. Undying Underworld Emperor stood in midair above the ruins. I have no other path left. You are not giving me a path. Undying Underworld Emperor seemed to have turned mad. If he obediently chose not to slaughter others, even if Dongbua Shuang reached the final realm, Dongbua Shuang would still allow him to live. But to Undying Underworld Emperor, he could not endure living like this without becoming a chaotic origin life form. Living without hope was a form of torture. His lifespan was too long. The only thing he desired was to evolve his level of life. He desired to reach that unfathomable level of life. It was like a butterfly breaking out a cocoon. He once experienced a higher level of life at a close distance. Hence, he desired it even more. Then I shall fight for the last time. I have lived for so long since I could escape back. It is impossible for me to reach the final realm through ordinary cultivation paths. Only the mysterious Snake-Tooth Corridor would give me a chance. The eyes of Undying Underworld Emperor were blazing with flames. Before Monarch Facia reaches the final realm, I shall fight for the last time. I do not wish for the complete Death Walker. Even if I could control it simply, it would suffice. The complete Death Walker was a half-chaotic origin life form body. Its strength could match the 5 Great Supremes. If he succeeded in refining it, he would immediately become an existence comparable to a Supreme. Naturally, he was qualified to fight for the opportunity to enter the Snake-Tooth Corridor in the Broken Tooth Mountain Range. Even if it was an incomplete Death Walker, it was still strong enough. I shall risk it. Undying Underworld Emperor had no path of retreat. This Monarch Facia's cultivation speed is incredibly fast. He should be able to reach the final realm in 1,000,000,000,000 years. I have to succeed within 1,000,000,000,000 years. Undying Underworld Emperor thought. 1,000,000,000,000 years was not considered long in the eyes of a cosmos god. Undying Underworld Emperor felt that he had overestimated Dongbua Shuang to reach the final realm in such a short period. Just like how Lord Lo Cheng gave Dongbua Shuang and Sword Master opportunities in the past, he was doing his best. He was not confident that the two of them could reach the final realm before the great apocalypse. One could see how difficult it was to reach the final realm. It's just that in the end, both Swordmaster and Dongbua Shui Ying's growth had startled both Lord Lo Cheng and Yuan. Swordmaster had reached the final realm. Dongbua Shui Ying had even reached an unfathomable level in the Tao of Soul. 1,000,000,000 years. Undying Underworld Emperor felt that time was tight. But it should be possible to reach the final realm within 1,000,000,000 years. That day, Undying Underworld Emperor arrived at the Southern Cloud capital. Teacher, Southern Cloud King remained obedient. He had no choice. He did not dare to disobey this Undying Underworld Emperor. Undying Underworld Emperor coldly snorted. He disliked Southern Cloud King because that monarch Fei Shue who infuriated him was also the disciple of Southern Cloud King. It's just that currently, he still required the help of this Southern Cloud King. Help me gather these materials. Undying Underworld Emperor threw a scroll to Southern Cloud King. You have to gather them within 10 billion years. Otherwise, your Southern Cloud Nation will be destroyed. Southern Cloud King felt his heart trembling when he heard that. He extended his hand to receive the scroll. Chapter 1251. After throwing the scroll, Undying Underworld Emperor disappeared. Southern Cloud King held onto the scroll. He was panicking in his heart. This Undying Underworld Emperor might have asked me to do things in the past, but he would at least maintain some demeanor on the surface. This time, he wanted me to do something. If I fail, he would wipe out the Southern Cloud Nation. He was actually so tyrannical and ruthless. Something's wrong. After a while, Fei Shue City, an avatar of Southern Cloud King, came to meet Dongbua Shui Ying. Master, Dongbua Shui Ying was still seated below the pavilion. When he saw his master, he hurriedly stood up to welcome him. Snow Eagle, I've just met with Undying Underworld Emperor, and I feel that something is amiss. Southern Cloud King explained what happened. Dongbua Shui Ying replied, It's all because of me. Because of you? Southern Cloud King was startled. He might have sensed a huge threat. Dongbua Shui Ying sighed. Speaking of which, it's because I made a name for myself in the Broken Teeth Mountain Range. You made a name for yourself in the Broken Teeth Mountain Range. What kind of name? Southern Cloud King felt even more puzzled. The cultivators from Realm Heart Great Land had to be extremely cautious in the Broken Teeth Mountain Range. They had to be careful when facing the Death Destruction clan. He also had to be careful when facing the natives. Even the invincible existences did not dare to bring their supreme secret treasures inside unless it was absolutely necessary. It's like this. Dongbua Shui Ying naturally didn't need to hide anything from his master, so he told him everything. Southern Cloud King became more and more startled as he listened. Oh my God, he even dared to become enemies with Great Emperor North River. Not only was Great Emperor North River not angered, he even came personally to invite Shui Ying over. One by one, the Great Emperors invited him. Great Emperor Shamanic Wind joined hands with him, Dongbua Shui Ying, and forced the most powerful Emperor Yin of the 13 sovereigns to lower its head. Even if the horizons of Southern Cloud King were broad, at this moment, he was looking at his disciple with incomparable shock. Terrifying. It was too terrifying. There had never been a cultivator in the history of Realm Heart Great Land like Dongbua Shui Ying who could enjoy such glory in the Broken Teeth Mountain Range. Even the 8 great emperors and the 13 sovereigns were eager to befriend him. Has your Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm reached the final realm? The soul technique is actually so powerful. Southern Cloud King could not help but ask. No, I just reached a bottleneck. Dongbua Shui Ying said. I had some fortuitous encounters in Broken Teeth Mountain Range. Using them, I comprehended a Mirage Illusion Realm killer move. With this killer move, it has such power. You were able to make so many Emperor Realm cultivators in the Broken Teeth Mountain Range fall into depravity. I'm afraid that even our ultimate realm cultivator's strength will be greatly reduced in front of you. Most level 2 Cosmos gods and Paragon masters would likely fall asleep in front of you, including me. Southern Cloud King shook his head and sighed. Even though we have many avatars, a single thought from you could destroy all of them. At this moment, Southern Cloud King felt a strand of terror towards this disciple of his. The soul technique was too terrifying. If one avatar fell into the illusion, all the other avatars would also fall into the illusion due to their shared memories. At this moment, Southern Cloud King decided to temporarily sever the memories of his avatars located in other origin worlds. Because they were separated by an origin world, it was strenuous for the avatars to share their memories. As long as they did not take the initiative to connect their memories, they would naturally be severed. I'll only connect my memories once every few years to prevent my avatars from developing different personalities. The soul technique was too frightening. Even Southern Cloud King, who was his teacher and a cultivator, instinctively chose to protect himself. I should be able to deal with level 2 cosmos gods with a thought. Donghua Shuang nodded. Currently, the only existences he could not deal with in the realm Heart Great Land were final realm cultivators. That undying underworld emperor should be aware of this intelligence. He's afraid of me, Donghua Shuang calmly said. Afraid of you? Southern Cloud King felt puzzled. Yes, he wishes to enter the Broken Teeth Mountain Range. But if I were to discover him in the Broken Teeth Mountain Range, I could easily summon a group of experts to kill him, Donghua Shuang said. And because I can easily obtain many treasures and opportunities, those Starlight Masters and even great emperors have taken the initiative to send treasures to me. Given my accumulations in the Tao of Void and my attainments in the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm, he might think that it is possible for me to reach the final realm in either of these two Taos. Southern Cloud King agreed. Yes, he also felt that this disciple of his could reach the final realm in either of the two Taos. Naturally, this was because the cultivators in the realm Heart Great Land did not know how difficult the Tao of Soul was. If I were to reach the final realm in the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm, my soul technique might be even more formidable. Perhaps I might be able to kill him with my soul technique. Donghua Shuang said, even if I can't kill him, he should only be left with 20% to 30% of his original strength. Killing him would be much easier. Currently, his soul technique was already so formidable. It would be even more amazing if he reached the final realm. Killing with a thought. Donghua Shuang vaguely felt that it was possible for him to do so. If I were to reach the final realm in the Tao of Void, by relying on the chaotic origin weapon and finding some helpers, I might be able to kill him. Donghua Shuang said. Southern Cloud King was inwardly startled. This cheap disciple of his was formidable, amazing. He could threaten the life of undying underworld emperor in the blink of an eye. That is why he wants to struggle. Donghua Shuang shook his head. I don't wish to force him into a corner. As long as he doesn't start a massacre, I'm even willing to swear an oath that I won't act against him. It's a pity that his goal is to become a chaotic origin life form. His request is too crazy, and I can't satisfy him at all. Hence, he should have started some sort of plan. It is impossible for him to wait for death. Amen. He won't wait for death. Southern Cloud King said. In an enormous city, during the night, undying underworld emperor arrived above this city. He coldly looked down at this city. There were many cultivators living in this city. There were men and women, old and young, lone cultivators, and some who worked as attendants or servants to earn cosmos crystals. Absorb. Undying underworld emperor abruptly took in a deep breath. Endless darkness immediately enveloped the entire city. Many civilians in the city could not resist at all. Their souls were leaving their bodies. This devour by undying underworld emperor formed a dark abyss, and many souls were being sucked into that dark abyss. Some of the citizens in the city had clones outside, so they immediately spread the news. Undying underworld emperor felt disdain from concealing such a huge disturbance. Not only did the civilians spread the news, this disturbance was also sensed by several final realm experts. Amen? What is Underworld Emperor doing? Ancestor Fan sensed from afar. Watching this, he felt bewildered. Even if he wants to capture a large number of souls, he should just think of ways to lure some weaker cultivators to capture them. Why is he doing it personally? But he did not know. Undying Underworld Emperor wanted to seize the time to experiment, and luring the weaker devils to capture the souls required time. The fastest way to capture the first batch of souls was naturally for him to do it personally. Absorb. Undying Underworld Emperor finally absorbed all the souls into his body and stored them in his spatial storage. He waited at his original position for a moment. Eventually, a white-robed young man appeared by the side. Underworld Emperor. Dongbua Shui-Ying looked at the city below. Many civilians had lost their souls. It had turned into a dead city. He could not help but turn to Undying Underworld Emperor with anger. What are you preparing to do? Just a city was definitely not enough to sacrifice. What am I doing? Since you aren't giving me a path, I can only pave it myself. Undying Underworld Emperor coldly chuckled at Dongbua Shui, a monarch Feishue, the famous monarch Feishue. It is likely that you will become the #1 expert in Realm Heart Great Land in the future. What a pity that you can't stop me. Saying that, the figure of Undying Underworld Emperor disappeared. He deliberately stayed here precisely to wait for Dongbua Shui-Ying. Damn. Dongbua Shui-Ying's expression turned ugly. He could still kill ordinary devils, but he could not do anything to Undying Underworld Emperor. Time passed. Dongbua Shui-Ying became famous in Broken Teeth Mountain Range. Many pieces of news finally spread across the highest level of Realm Heart Great Land. Emperor Summer, Apocalyptic God Emperor, Towering Sky King, Ancestor Fan, Eternal Night Primogenitor, Extreme Night Primogenitor, and others were dumbstruck when they heard about it. Ancestor Fan even exclaimed, "His Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm has at least reached the pinnacle bottleneck. He might even reach the final realm." They even scouted out. The great emperors even treated Dongbua Shui-Ying as an esteemed guest. Even the 13 emperors were wary of this monarch Feishue. Many world masters even took the initiative to send over huge amounts of treasures, top-graded secret treasures. According to rumors, there were even supreme-graded secret treasures. That was madness. The highest level of Realm Heart Great Land was startled by this. Some final realm experts who did not own any supreme-graded secret treasures felt their eyes turning red. They were envious and jealous, but they were helpless. As many unparalleled existences and final realm experts came to visit Dongbua Shui-Ying, Dongbua Shui-Ying was instead paying attention to the news regarding Undying Underworld Emperor. Undying Underworld Emperor. Dongbua Shui-Ying's mood wasn't good at all. Just 3 years. Other than Underworld Emperor, who plundered a huge batch of souls. Quite a few souls were plundered in the dark after that. Currently, Dongbua Shui-Ying was in Realm Heart Great Land. The 6 great ancient nations gave him a lot of respect. He relied on various intelligence reports to investigate those who plundered souls, and everything pointed to that Undying Underworld Emperor. Underworld Emperor must not be allowed to live. Dongbua Shui-Ying gritted his teeth. I have to think of ways to eliminate him. If this continued, it was unknown how many more people would die. Was he really hoping for Yuan to descend? Given Yuan's temper, he would most likely not punish Shui-Ying unless his death could affect the order of the entire Realm Heart Great Land. Chapter 1252. Summer Wind, Ancient Nation, Royal Palace. Within a flower garden, Emperor Summer, Emperor Tsang, and Ancestor Fan were currently gathered together drinking wine and chatting. They were currently discussing about the most influential character in the entire Realm Heart Great Land, Monarch Feishue. I heard that even the Extreme Knight Primogenitor visited Imperial Lord Feishue. The Extreme Knight Primogenitor even swore an oath to resolve the enmity. Firmament Darch laughed and said, "Speaking of which, of the 2 from the Primogenitor ancient country, at least the Extreme Knight Primogenitor is a true person. He lowers his head when he says so. Instead, that Eternal Night Primogenitor is the most fake." Ha! Eternal Night Primogenitor should be feeling vexed right now. Ancestor Fan chuckled. This Yingshan Snow Eagle is much more frightening than in the past. In fact, a single summon from him would probably send a group of world lords to the Broken Teeth Mountain Range. The Xia Emperor nodded. His rise to power is unstoppable. That's right, we can't stop them. Ancestor Fan sighed. It's extremely difficult for other cultivators to obtain the many treasures in Broken Teeth Mountain Range. But this Yingshan Snow Eagle doesn't even need to take the risk, and a large group of natives would take the initiative to offer it. It's useless to be envious. Your mirage and illusory realm is far inferior to his, Emperor Tsong said from the side. Isn't his mirage and illusory realm too powerful? Ancestor Fan shook his head. Two roads. The Tao of Void and the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm made everyone feel the terrifying momentum of Dongbua Shui Ying's rise. Moreover, he had the assistance of the various fortuitous encounters in Broken Tooth Mountain Range, so his momentum was even more difficult to stop. Speaking of Imperial Monarch Feishue, Imperial Monarch Feishue will arrive. Emperor Xia suddenly laughed. The three of them stared at the distant sky. A white-robed young man walked out from midair and descended with a smile. He did not look arrogant at all. He first politely bowed. Greetings, Emperor Xia, Ancestor Fan, and Emperor Tsong. Emperor Feishue. Come. Sit, the Xia Emperor said. We were just talking about you when you arrived. Ancestor Fan said, Feishue. Currently, several unparalleled existences are saying that you will most likely become the #1 expert in Realm Heart Great Land in the future. He is above Emperor Xia and Emperor Hades. Saying that, Ancestor Fan even smiled at Emperor Xia. I haven't even reached the final realm. There's still a long way to go. Dongbua Shuang said. Emperor Summer said, I agree with this saying too. Even though I have obtained a supreme secret importation, it's a pity that I don't have a chaotic origin weapon with me. Hence, I can't execute the final killing technique of the supreme secret importation. The moment you reach the final realm in the Tao of Void, you would have a supreme secret importation and a chaotic origin weapon. By then, even if Underworld Emperor risked his life, he would only be able to fight close to you. Dongbua Shui Ying sighed inwardly. The chaotic origin weapon and the supreme secret impartation complemented each other. Even if he had a supreme secret inheritance, even if he obtained another Void Path supreme secret treasure, he wouldn't be able to execute the final killer move of the supreme secret inheritance. Monarch Feishue, if you reach the final realm in the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm, it would be even harder to predict. Currently, I've heard that some emperors in the Broken Teeth Mountain Range have fallen to your technique. If you reach the final realm, I wouldn't be surprised if you could kill us with a single thought. Emperor Tsong sighed. The Tao of Soul is inherently difficult and complicated. Reaching the final grand perfection would most likely bring about all sorts of mystical aspects. Any Tao would have its own unique aspects once it reached grand perfection. Hence, most final realm experts would have powerful survival capabilities even if they did not have any supreme graded secret treasures. And what kind of techniques would the Tao of Soul have when it reached the final grand perfection? It was hard for them to predict. I wish to reach the final realm too. It's too difficult. Dongbua Shui shook his head and sighed. Emperor Summer, Ancestor Fan, Emperor Tsong. Dongbua Shui continued. This time, I'm here to seek the help of the three of you. Oh, the great Monarch Feishue can casually summon some world masters to help you. Do you need her help? Ancestor Fan teased. Monarch Feishue, please tell us what you need her help with. Emperor Summer answered. Emperor Tsong was also looking at Dongbua Shuang. The three of them were curious. This Monarch Feishue had many treasures. Currently, his authority was sufficiently great that even the 6 great ancient nations gave him face. Even Extreme Knight Primogenitor and Moonflower King had long paid a visit to him and swore an oath just to befriend him. Only Eternal Knight Primogenitor, who cared about his reputation and had a greater enmity with Shui Ying, was hesitating. With such a huge influence, what was the point of asking the three of them for help? Dongbua Shui Ying nodded with a solemn expression. I wish to eliminate Undying Underworld Emperor. Eliminate Undying Underworld Emperor? Emperor Summer and the other two were greatly alarmed. They found it hard to believe. He is currently the #1 expert in Realm Heart Great Land. Emperor Summer said, the moment he unleashes his trump card, even I am not his opponent. And you want to eliminate him? There's no need to worry about fighting him head-on. Dongbua Shui Ying said, I'm confident that I can invite some world masters over to help me, even if it's 30 to 50 of them. It isn't difficult for me to invite more than 100 of them. The expressions of Emperor Summer, Ancestor Fan, and Emperor Tsong changed when they heard that. More than 100 world masters? Yuan left behind a lore restriction that limited the natives who could enter the Realm Heart Great Land from Broken Teeth Mountain Range were at most initial emperors. As for the Death Destruction clan that was filled with madness, they could not enter the Realm Heart Great Land at all. As for initial emperors, even though their techniques were slightly crude, they were comparable to Emperor Summer in terms of power. Emperor Summer could easily deal with a world master by relying on the profundity of his techniques. But if 5 to 6 world masters worked together, Emperor Summer would be at a disadvantage. I have only heard about it previously, but now I finally understand how influential Monarch Fei Xue is in the Broken Teeth Mountain Range. Ancestor Fan sighed. Dongbua Shuang did not say anything else, much less world masters. He could even invite great emperors and a group of god generals for help. As for world masters, there were too many people that he could invite. A group of world masters working together in a combat formation should be sufficient to gain an absolute advantage. Once that Undying Underworld Emperor loses his trump card, it is possible for us to kill him. Dongbua Shuang said, currently, the most troublesome thing is that if he chose not to fight and chose to escape, even if I brought a group of world masters, I would not be able to find him. Amen, right? If he wants to escape, you can't find him at all. Ordinary Final Realm cultivators could hardly find him even if they wanted to escape. Undying Underworld Emperor has reached the Final Realm in 2 Daos. If he wants to escape, how can you find him? Those native world masters might be powerful, but their understanding of the law is too far off. It is impossible for them to find Undying Underworld Emperor. Emperor Summer and the other two said. Dongbua Shuang agreed too. That was why Final Realm Devils could wreak havoc in the Realm Heart Great Land. The moment they escaped, they could conceal their aura and fluctuations, making it hard for them to trace the other party. That is why I found this place. Dongbua Shuang said, I hope the 3 of you can help me see if there are any ways to trace him down. If he chose to escape, we can determine where he is and continue chasing after him. It is difficult to trace down Undying Underworld Emperor. Emperor Summer said. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes brightened. Emperor Summer only mentioned that it was difficult and not impossible. Does Emperor Summer have any ideas? Dongbua Shui Ying asked. If Emperor Summer can help me kill that Undying Underworld Emperor, I can gift you a flame-related supreme-graded secret treasure. Emperor Summer's eyes brightened when he heard that. He had a void-related supreme-graded secret treasure, yet he did not have any flame-related supreme-graded secret treasure. What a huge sum! Emperor Tsong sighed. You are willing to part with so much for the sake of killing Undying Underworld Emperor. Ancestor Fan sighed too. You might be the strongest in Realm Heart Great Land in the future, but in terms of treasures, you are currently the strongest in Realm Heart Great Land. You have the help of the natives of Broken Teeth Mountain Range. You can't compare with them at all. Dongbua Shui Ying continued asking, is there any way to trace him down? Chase after him? Ultimately, Undying Underworld Emperor has reached the Final Realm in 2 Daos. Even though they are both extremely powerful in killing and offensive Daos, his concealment ability remains formidable. Even I can't trace him down. Emperor Summer shook his head. But there is one person in the entire Realm Heart Great Land who can trace him down. Who? Dongbua Shuang asked. Limitless City Master. Emperor Summer said, I've chatted with Limitless City Master before. I heard him mention that in the past, when undying underworld emperor escaped back to realm heart great land, Limitless City Master had already discovered him. But Limitless City Master's cultivation path is unique, and his temperament is weird too. I'm not confident of inviting him over. Let's see what you, Monarch Face Yue, can do. Limitless City Master? Dongbua Shui Ying softly nodded. He could invite a group of experts to surround and kill undying underworld emperor. In the realm heart great land, undying underworld emperor could simply hide his aura and disappear without a trace. Only Limitless City Master could trace him down? But Limitless City Master, Dongbua Shui Ying, was not confident. This was the final realm expert with the weirdest temperament in the entire realm heart great land. Let's give it a try. No matter what, I have to think of ways to ask Limitless City Master for help. Dongbua Shui Ying thought. Chapter 1253. Limitless City Master, in the eyes of many weak cultivators and even some ordinary cosmos gods, was the calmest, unparalleled existence in the entire realm heart great land. But in the eyes of ordinary final realm and unparalleled existences, Limitless City Master had the weirdest personality. Also, he was publicly acknowledged to have the most unfathomable techniques. He was ranked first among the 5 ancestors from the Myriad Realms ancient nation in terms of deterrence. His survival capabilities were heaven-defying, and his scouting capabilities were also the best in the entire realm heart great land. A guest is coming. His entire body was green. He stood alone at the peak of the tallest palace in the City Master residence. He was surrounded by clouds. Limitless City Master stood with his hands behind his back. There was a pair of blood-curved horns on his head, yet his eyes were calm. Even ordinary animals could not feel any threat from Limitless City Master. It was as if he was a part of the realm heart great land. He did not emit any aura or pressure. He was ordinary to the extreme. If he concealed his tracks, nobody could find him. Limitless City Master looked ahead. A ripple appeared in front of him. A white-robed young man walked out from it. He stepped on the void. It is rare for Monarch Face Yue to visit my limitless city. Limitless City Master chuckled. I hope City Master won't be offended by my presumptuous visit. Dongbua Shui Ying walked over. Fate has already been decided. It is naturally not presumptuous of you to come here. Limitless City Master said. He then pointed his green arm to the side. Monarch, please have a seat. The two walked to the side. There were ordinary stone tables and stone stools. They sat down facing each other. Limitless City Master personally poured wine for Dongbua Shui Ying. It was an ordinary wine. I've heard that Monarch Soul technique is so strong that it could even cause some emperors in Broken Teeth Mountain Range to fall into it. Limitless City Master said, even though we cultivators have reached the final realm, we would most likely be greatly weakened under Monarch Soul technique. Dare I ask, Monarch, if you have reached the final realm in your Tao of Soul? Not yet, Dongbua Shui Ying said. It is only by luck that I have comprehended some techniques. Limitless City Master said, the vast origin world has everything operating under the supreme law. There are flowers and grass growing, ants and insects multiplying, and intelligent beings emerging. Nevertheless, the soul is the most unique, is the foundation of life, and even the foundation of the origin world. Dongbua Shui Ying agreed. The blood spirit essence obtained by sacrificing countless lives was even more effective than origin world stones. If countless life forms submitted to someone, that would affect the will of the origin world. The origin world would submit to that person and become the master of the origin world. The soul was indeed the most special thing in an origin world. It was also the true foundation of all living beings. This was the reason why it was so difficult to reach the ultimate realm. I've observed the workings of all things in the origin world, but I can't see through the soul. Limitless City Lord said, I'm still quite a distance away from seeing through it. As Dongbua Shui Ying spoke, he was grumbling in his heart. This Limitless City Lord was talking to him about the soul, the workings of the world, and the living beings of the origin world the moment he arrived. Dongbua Shui Ying decided to get straight to the point. City Lord, I came to Limitless City because I have something to trouble you with. Please speak. Limitless City Lord remained calm. Currently, Undying Underworld Emperor has truly gone mad. If we don't stop him, he will likely create a huge calamity. Dongbua Shuang said. Why does Monarch say so? Limitless City Lord asked. Why would Underworld Emperor go mad after reaching his current realm? Not too long ago, he came to find me. Dongbua Shuang explained in detail. He told Limitless City Lord about Undying Underworld Emperor's threat. His request is too high. I can't do it at all. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. The negotiation failed. Closely following that, he began frantically collecting souls. I've investigated before. He seems to be conducting some sort of soul-related experiment. Limitless City Lord nodded. That time when Underworld Emperor stepped on the path to become a chaotic origin life form, he failed. After returning, he focused on refining the Death Walker and headed to the Broken Tooth Mountain Range. Yet you disrupted his plans. Now that you are in the Broken Tooth Mountain Range, he felt that the chances of him entering the Snake Tooth Corridor has become bleak. Naturally, he began his final gamble. That is the personality of Underworld Emperor. I don't know how many innocent beings will die in his final gamble. Dongbua Shuang said, how can I watch as so many weak beings die, just like that? I can't do that. Hence, I plan to eliminate Undying Underworld Emperor. Eliminate Underworld Emperor? The eyes of Limitless City Lord were filled with curiosity. I'll gather a large group of world masters from the natives of Broken Tooth Mountain Range to form a combat formation to kill him. Dongbua Shuang said, it's just that as a final realm expert, it is hard to track him down the moment he conceals his aura. What I know is that the only one in Realm Heart Great Land who could track down Undying Underworld Emperor is you, City Lord. Hence, I hope City Lord can help me. I can indeed track him down. If Emperor Summer can't track him down at his current realm, I'm afraid I'll be the only one. Limitless City Lord admitted. I hope City Lord can help me. Dongbua Shuang said, whatever City Lord needs, just tell me. Even if it's a supreme graded secret treasure, as long as City Lord agrees to help, I'll give it to City Lord. Monarch is indeed the wealthiest expert in Realm Heart Great Land. Even I am tempted after hearing it. Limitless City Lord shook his head helplessly. It's a pity that I can't help you. Can't help you? Dongbua Shuang felt puzzled and anxious. Why can't you do it? City Lord only needs to track down the location of Undying Underworld Emperor. No matter where that Underworld Emperor escapes, you can find him. As for the matter of killing him, I've asked many world masters to work together. There is no need for City Lord to act. Limitless City Lord said, Monarch, please return. City Lord should be concerned about the weak and small beings too, right? Dongbua Shuang anxiously asked, I can help City Lord with treasures and opportunities. It has nothing to do with this. Limitless City Lord shook his head. Why isn't City Lord willing to help? Unless you have a deep friendship with that Undying Underworld Emperor? Dongbua Shuang anxiously asked. He had no choice but to be anxious. Currently, Limitless City Lord was the only one who could track down the location of Undying Underworld Emperor. Limitless City Lord chuckled. Friendship? How can I have a deep friendship with him? Even if he dies, I'll still be in a good mood and drink a few cups of wine with him. Then why? Dongbua Shuang could not understand. There was no friendship. Why did Limitless City Lord not agree to help him with so many benefits? Indeed, I could track him down. Not only can I track him down, but I can also track down all the other Final Realm experts and even unparalleled existences. The Limitless City Lord said. But have you ever heard of me hunting down a Final Realm expert? Dongbua Shuang was stunned. That's right, because he had just found out from Emperor Summer that Limitless City Lord could track down Undying Underworld Emperor. Hence, he immediately sent an invitation. But he had forgotten that since he could track down Undying Underworld Emperor, he should be able to track down other Final Realm experts too. But why was it that the 8 Silk Island Master and the other great devils could still be so arrogant? Because we can't kill him, Limitless City Lord said. We can't kill him? Dongbua Shuang felt even more puzzled. All of us are part of this world. Limitless City Lord chuckled. From the lowest ants to the highest cosmos gods, we are all part of this origin world. We are all part of the manifestation of the supreme law. Under the supreme law, everything is operating. The reproduction of life, cultivation, love, and hatred, everything is a manifestation of the operation of the supreme law. Just like how you came to find me today, it is also a manifestation of the operation of the supreme law. Donghua Shui Ying was startled. I don't really care about treasures and opportunities. Limitless City Lord said, I don't care about supreme-graded secret treasures either. I have long reached the final realm and have always been comprehending the supreme law. My spirit has always been one with this origin world. Only then can I have a deeper understanding of the operation of the supreme law. The supreme law is unparalleled in its profoundness. The operation of the laws has its own order. I am the observer of the order of this law. Limitless City Lord chuckled at Donghua Shui Ying. I am not willing for the order to be destroyed. Any final realm expert is the strongest and most shocking life form nurtured by this origin world. Observing them fills me with joy. If I were to kill them, it would greatly impact the order of the world. I dislike those who destroy the order the most, especially for myself. It is fine if I merely kill a final realm expert. But if I were to kill a final realm expert, it would greatly affect the operation of the entire law and order. If I were to fall into it, my karma would be entangled within. The difficulty of observing the order would drastically increase. Undying Underworld Emperor is currently the #1 expert in Realm Heart Great Land. Monarch Fei Xue, if you were to gather a group of world masters, I could help you kill him. The influence would be too great. It would affect the law and order too greatly. The difficulty of observing the law and order would increase by 1,000 to 10,000 times. Hence, I hope Monarch can understand that I can't help you. Limitless City Lord said. Chapter 1254. Donghua Shui Ying understood. After reaching the final realm, the next step would be to advance toward becoming a chaotic origin life form. For instance, Old Monster Stone chose the path of breaking through with strength. Limitless City Master was similarly walking on his own path. He dissected the supreme law by observing the laws in order, and participating in the matter of killing Undying Underworld Emperor would greatly affect his Tao path. It would make his Tao path 1,000 times harder. Limitless City Master would definitely not be willing to do such a thing. Severing one's cultivation path was absolutely an enmity to any expert. City Master, you are wrong. Donghua Shui Ying did not give up. Instead, he roared, do you think your Tao path is right? No, it is wrong. Wrong? Oh, where am I wrong? Limitless City Master took the initiative to ask. The soul is the foundation of a cultivator. Donghua Shui Ying solemnly said. And does City Master know what the soul desires the most? What do they desire? Limitless City Master was curious. This white-robed young man in front of him was the one who walked the furthest in the Tao of Soul in the history of Realm Heart Great Land. Freedom, Donghua Shui Ying softly said. He could not forget the cheers of those souls when he saved the slaves of Sacred Master. That was the cheers of freedom. The soul was born free. Every soul yearns for freedom. Donghua Shui Ying said. They desire freedom and transcendence. Only with such willpower could they jump out of the cage and become a chaotic origin life form. As for you, City Master, you are afraid of breaking the laws and order. Hence, you are carefully trying your best to avoid karma. You are like a bystander, carefully observing the situation. Unknowingly, you have become a protector of the laws and order, becoming a part of the laws. We are originally part of the manifestation of the supreme law. Limitless City Master shook his head. We are born from the manifestation of the supreme law, but we are not part of the supreme law. The supreme law is merely our cradle. We will eventually jump out of the cage. Donghua Shui Ying stared at Limitless City Master. If we are willing to be a part of the supreme law, we might not even dare to influence the laws and order on a large scale. that would make it even more impossible for us to transcend. What you said makes sense. Limitless City Master shook his head, but I have my own path. You don't need to say anything more. Dongbua Shui Ying remained silent. He was indignant. However, he also understood that a cultivator who had reached the ultimate level and was even continuing to improve definitely wasn't someone who could be easily persuaded. Unless he encountered all sorts of problems in his own cultivation and reflected upon himself, only then would he change his path. Other people's words were useless, especially when they didn't understand his path. Feishua City. No wonder the weak cultivators feel that he is the most peaceful and has the best temper. Although the order in Limitless City is strict, as long as there is order, everything will be fine. Dongbua Shui Ying shook his head. Treating yourself as a bystander of the entire law and order, not wanting to get involved in it. Naturally, you are detached from it. This temperament is indeed the strangest one. She understood his path and could understand it. Compared to this Limitless City Master, Eternal Night Primogenitor, Extreme Night Primogenitor, Ancestor Fan, Emperor Summer, Undying Underworld Emperor, Towering Sky King, Moonflower King, and others were much more realistic. What should we do? If he doesn't agree, nobody can trace his whereabouts. Unless we have to kill him the moment we surround him. Dongbua Shui Ying felt that it was impossible. Undying Underworld Emperor would definitely escape if he knew things were amiss if he was attacked by a group of world masters. As for preventing him from escaping, this possibility was negligible. After all, Undying Underworld Emperor's techniques were much more profound than the native world masters. As Dongbua Shui Ying was feeling vexed, the avatar he left in the Starlight World received a transmission from Great Emperor North River. Monarch Feishua, I'm ready. It is time for us to act. Great Emperor North River transmitted back. Act. All right. Dongbua Shui Ying immediately acknowledged. He temporarily placed the matter of killing Undying Underworld Emperor aside. He had to think of other ways. He would first help Great Emperor North River since he had promised him before. North River World. Dongbua Shui Ying arrived at the palace hall. Brother Feishua, seated on his throne, the green-robed Great Emperor North River, who had been waiting for a long time, stood up. There were many other god generals in the Great Palace Hall, too. There were a total of 10 god generals, and they were ranked in the top 10 of the 36 god generals. Usually, they were more arrogant and relatively free. This time, Great Emperor North River could summon all of them. Great Emperor. Dongbua Shui Ying chuckled. Are you ready? I'm ready. Great Emperor North River was in high spirits. Brother Feishua, can we set off at any time? Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. I wonder where we are going? Which of the 3 Great Supremes is it? Supreme, sure, F.A. Great Emperor North River answered. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. Supreme Sure F.A. was relatively strong amongst the 3 Great Supremes of the Death Destruction clan, but he was similarly cruel and ruthless. He was an absolute devil. Perhaps because Autar Sure F.A. was born from death. Autar Sure F.A. felt that killing other life forms and causing them to return to death was a form of grace. That was why he liked to bestow grace. When he descended upon a native world, he would even carry out the ritual before bestowing the grace. With a single grace, he would cause all the life forms in that world to return to death. Supreme being sure F.A. believed that this was a gift of benevolence. But to the natives, it was too horrifying. Even Dongbua Shui Ying felt that this was absolutely an innate devil. Even though I had visited Sure F.A. Island in the past, I could not even meet the Supreme before being forced out. This time, with Brother Feishua around, I feel more confident. Great Emperor North River chuckled. I'll definitely remember this grace. After returning from Sure F.A. Island, I'll definitely not treat Brother Feishua unfairly. Let's go first. He is after all a Supreme. Dongbua Shui Ying said. It was not easy to deal with one of the 5 Great Supremes. All right, let's go. Great Emperor North River laughed out loud. He and Dongbua Shui Ying walked side by side. The other 10 god generals followed behind. They directly tore through the void and left the North River world. Sure, Fa Island. For a Supreme to live here, it was naturally ranked in the top 3 sky-floating islands in the Broken Tooth Mountain Range in terms of surface area. Opportunities and danger accompanied each other here. This was much more frightening than the island of Emperor Yin of the 13 Emperors. Just a single Supreme Sure Fa was a terrifying deterrent. So. The group of 12 directly descended on this Sure Fa Island. Even though the Sure Fa Island was vast, it was paved with many stone roads. These stone roads intersected with each other and spanned across the entire island. Dongbua Ying was inwardly startled when he saw this. Even though he had been to many sky-floating islands, the other sky-floating islands were very primitive. Only the clan's ground had slightly more unique constructions. One had to know that in the world of cultivators, there are all sorts of delicacies, buildings of different styles, and the layout of cities. But the sky-floating islands had always been primitive. This Supreme Sure Fa is indeed a Supreme. At the very least, he has done some preliminary constructions on the sky-floating islands. Dongbua thought. Supreme Sure Fa existed in both reality and illusion, according to the intelligence reports. His enemies would die stealthily. He had the strangest way of killing his enemies amongst the 5 great Supremes. The 12 of them descended on Sure Fa Island. Even before they moved, the stone road by the side emitted a faint black light that shone on the 12 of them. We have been discovered. Great Emperor North River chuckled. North River, you actually dare to barge into Sure Fa Island. Accompanied by an angry roar, a burly figure wearing pitch-black armor teleported out. He held a huge black spear in his hand and stood in mid-air. Chapter 1255. Dongbua looked at this armored expert wielding a black spear. He could recognize with a glance that this was one of the great generals under Supreme Sure Fa, no Fando. Great Emperor North River did not feel annoyed. He merely smiled at that pitch-black muscular figure. No Fando. Why don't you see who this person is beside me? Why are you shouting here? That pitch-black muscular figure swept his gaze across. He saw the white-robed young man standing beside Great Emperor North River. This great general under Supreme No Fando could not help but feel his heart tightening. Over the past few years, even the strongest experts in Realm Heart Great Land knew of what Dongbua Ying did in Broken Tooth Mountain Range. Even though the Death Destruction clan did not have a good information network, the great generals under one of the 5 great Supremes, Supreme Sure Fa, still knew of the great name of Monarch Feishua. It is actually Monarch Feishua. No wonder you, North River, are daring enough to come again. No Fando stared at Dongbua. I only have this little bit of courage. Great Emperor North River chuckled. Suddenly, the void by the side warped and formed a passage. From it, 8 figures walked out. The leading one was a kind-looking old man wearing a golden robe. Behind him were 7 experts from the Death Destruction clan with grand aura. Supreme. General No Fando immediately descended by the side. He respectfully bowed and greeted. He was incredibly respectful. Supreme Sure Fa. Great Emperor North River was no longer as relaxed as before. Instead, he became much more solemn. The 10 god generals under Great Emperor North River became much more nervous. Supreme, huh? Dongbua Ying felt curious. He could not help but feel his heart tightening. The name of a person was like the shadow of a tree. The deterrence of a Supreme was too great. Before him, ordinary, unparalleled existences in Realm Heart Great Land could be wiped out with a single breath from a Supreme. Even Emperor Summer would be killed instantaneously without being able to resist. Even undying Underworld Emperor, who could ignite his heart blood, could escape from a great Emperor. But before a Supreme, he would be proud if he could survive a few moves. This was what it meant to be a paragon. Even the strongest, low-graded, chaotic origin life forms in the Broken Teeth Mountain Range, the 8 great sages, were much weaker in front of Supremes. They were all trampled by the Supremes. According to what Great Emperor North River said, Supremes are those who have cultivated their bloodline to the pinnacle of perfection. With one more step, he will be able to truly awaken and return to his ancestral roots. Donghua Shuiying sighed with emotion. This kind of power was too terrifying. Emperor Abyssal Stone and the other great saints were trampled. Even Great Emperor North River, who was ranked number 1 amongst great emperors, was weaker by a level when facing Supremes. If not for the appearance of Donghua Shuiying, he would have been looking for a beating by coming to Shi Fa Island. It seems that he doesn't look like someone from the Death Destruction clan anymore. Donghua Shuiying looked at this golden-robed old man walking over from the void. Supreme Shi Fa. Supreme Shi Fa did not give off any evil or dark aura. Instead, he gave others a feeling of warmth. Wearing a dazzling golden robe, this Supreme Shi Fa smiled at Donghua Shuiying. He then turned to Great Emperor North River, saying, "North River, knowing that you have previously invited Monarch Feishue from Realm Heart Great Land to a banquet, I guessed that you would come to my place." "Of course." Great Emperor North River solemnly said, "Supreme, are you still going to obstruct my path this time?" "Obstruct your path? I have never obstructed your path before." Supreme Shi Fa chuckled. "If I wanted to obstruct your path, I could simply lure you into the depths of the island. Once you reach there, I'll team up with my subordinates to kill you, and on the sky-floating island, we can easily defeat you one by one. In the end, it isn't hard for me and my subordinates to kill you." The expression of Great Emperor North River changed slightly. That's right. This was reality. He could bring his subordinates, and the Supremes could also summon their subordinates. It's just that the 5 great Supremes had never done so over the long years. Reaching their level, they disdained from doing so. "There are many experts who want the treasures on my island. I can't just let anyone come and take them, right?" Supreme Shi Fa chuckled. "Either you trade fairly, or you can break through the obstruction of my subordinates and force me to retreat. That way, you can naturally take away the treasures. It's a pity that you can't do it. Who else can you blame?" Donghua Shuiying agreed to it as he listened by the side. Even though almost all the treasures in Broken Tooth Mountain Range were located on the sky-floating island, the natives would naturally come and compete for them. But competing depended on one's strength. Interesting. It said that it is impossible to trade within the Death Destruction clan, yet this Supreme Shi Fa is willing to do so. Donghua Shuiying sighed in his heart. He could not sense any evil aura from Supreme Shi Fa at all. It's just that he likes to bestow gifts, causing countless living beings to return to death. This personality of his is indeed quite terrifying. Just as Donghua Shuiying was immersed in many thoughts, Great Emperor North River solemnly said, "Supreme, this time, do you want to fight? I have the help of Brother Feishue, and your subordinates are of no use to me." "Fight? Naturally, we have to fight," Supreme Shi Fa said. Great Emperor North River, the 10 god generals, and Donghua Shuiying felt their hearts tightening. A battle was about to begin? "Supreme, how strong was he exactly?" "Very good. Supreme, don't blame us for working together against you today." The eyes of Great Emperor North River were filled with coldness. "We have to fight, but we only need to fight against the cultivator from Realm Heart Great Land, Monarch Feishue." Supreme Shi Fa chuckled as he looked at Donghua Shuiying. "I'm not interested in you natives. I'm only slightly interested in Monarch Feishue. Monarch Feishue, I've heard that you could cause some emperors to fall into oblivion. I wish to test out your soul technique." "I want to fight with a Supreme?" Donghua Shuiying was startled. No matter what, he could at most injure the Supreme. The Supreme could easily kill him with just 10% of his strength. After all, there was a huge gap between him and Eternal Night Primogenitor and others. The gap between him and the Supreme was even more frightening. "Ha ha, you just have to attack." Supreme Shi Fa laughed. "I won't bully a weak cultivator." Donghua Shuiying felt slightly uncomfortable in his heart. A weak cultivator. In the eyes of Supremes, cultivators from Realm Heart Great Land were weak. Emperor Summer an undying underworld emperor, were simply sending themselves to death. Fortunately, with the lore restriction of Yuan, Supremes could not enter Realm Heart Great Land. It's just that even though he knew this, he still felt uncomfortable being looked down upon. All right. The moment Dongbua Shuiying spoke, his eyes brightened. Hong. The mirage and illusory realm descended. It enveloped Supreme Fa. Even though his technique did not affect the subordinates of the Supreme by the side, neither did it affect Great Emperor North River or the 10 god generals. But they could feel that the eyes of Dongbua Shuiying contained a fatal attraction that made them want to look towards Dongbua Shuiying's eyes. This was also because this killing technique of Dongbua Shuiying was comprehended from the gray eyes. His eyes were filled with an endless attraction that made others fall into it. Fortunately, they could only watch from afar and not fall into the oblivion illusory realm. Everyone present could resist against it. It's just that they were startled inwardly. What a formidable soul technique. I wonder how much of my strength would remain if I were to be struck by it. Great Emperor North River and the other experts were slightly startled. MN. Supreme Fa was initially fine, but suddenly his expression changed. A horrifying dark aura erupted from the surface of Supreme Fa's body. It charged out in all directions and engulfed the surrounding world, causing it to turn dark. Some experts from the Death Destruction clan, like No Fando, were forced back by the impact. Some were even injured. All of them revealed a look of astonishment. Freeze! Great Emperor North River roared out. Surging sword lights immediately appeared around Great Emperor North River. The sword lights enveloped the surroundings, protecting Dongbua Shuiying and the 10 god generals by his side. Chi, the dark aura clashed against the surging sword lights, causing the sword lights to weaken. This is too powerful. Under the protection of the sword lights, Dongbua Shuiying watched as the dark aura continuously whittled away the sword lights. He could feel an instinctive terror. He had a vague feeling that his body would be destroyed the moment he touched this dark aura. The distant Supreme Fa suddenly snorted. He forcibly kept his aura and opened his eyes at Dongbua Shuiying. Monarch Feishua, you can stop your soul technique now. Dongbua Shuiying immediately kept it. What a formidable illusory realm. Supreme Fa sighed. I thought I could maintain my consciousness and even deliberately entered the illusory realm to explore it. Who would have thought that I would suffer a loss, causing some of my aura to leak out? Today I've witnessed this soul technique. It has truly broadened my horizons. Monarch Feishua and North River, the two of you can enter now. Chapter 1256. Dongbua Shuiying was dumbstruck. Most experts would try their best to resist against the illusory realm. Yet this Supreme Fa actually took the initiative to let himself enter the illusory realm. He was truly overconfident. But clearly, he suffered from a disadvantage and was forced to use all his strength to break apart the illusory realm. That was why his horrifying aura was slightly emitted. The aura of the Death Destruction clan was originally evil and horrifying. This Supreme Fa only had to conceal it and spread it out normally. That was enough to kill all kings. Even emperors and god generals would be forced back or injured. Only those at the level of great emperors could easily resist against the impact of his aura. Shall we enter? Great Emperor North River revealed a joyous look. Many thanks, Supreme Fa. With Monarch Feishua around, I can't stop you even if I wanted to. Supreme Fa said, Go, I'll bring you over. You guys can fly slowly. I wonder how long it would take. Great Emperor North River did not reject. At the same time, he was observing Dongbua Shuiying and Supreme Fa in the dark. He was curious how much Supreme Fa was affected by Monarch Feishua's soul technique. But since he dared to take the initiative to enter the illusory realm, it should not affect him too much by simply resisting against it. Even if I worked together with Monarch Feishua to deal against the Supreme, it would still be slightly taxing. Great Emperor North River thought, but at least it has reduced the gap between me and the Supreme. Furthermore, with Monarch Feishue around, I'm not afraid of being surrounded. It's a pity that Monarch Feishue isn't willing to follow me forever. He had even helped Shamanic Wind once before. Who? Supreme Sure FA's unseen energy enveloped the surroundings. Great Emperor North River remained protecting Dongbua, Shui Ying, and the 10 god generals. So, they directly tore through the void and arrived at the core of this island. We're here. Supreme Sure FA's voice sounded. The space before him changed. Dongbua Shui Ying looked around him. There was a fiery red lake by his side. The fiery red lake water was emitting a shockingly high temperature that caused the void to distort. There were even many black leaves floating on the surface of this lake. Countless black leaves covered an area of more than 5,000 kilometers. They were revolving in circles. The closer one was to the center, the bigger the black leaves. The core black leaf was a full 100 miles in diameter. The outermost leaf could only allow 3 to 5 ordinary people to stand on it. Apart from the black leaves, there were also purple flowers blooming. At a glance, there were about 100 beautiful flowers. The closer they were to the center, the bigger the blooming purple flowers. The largest purple flower bloomed on the black leaf in the center. That purple flower took up about 1/3 of the area of the black leaf in the center. Phew! The entire lake was filled with black leaves and purple flowers, emitting a formless pressure that made all the experts present feel suffocated. North River. Supreme Sure FA, who was at the side, smiled and said, "The Black Leaf Lake is right here. I won't stop you. You can take as much flower dew as you want, but you should know that Haihu's flower dew isn't that easy to take. Don't worry, I've already made preparations." Great Emperor North River first waved his hand to keep the 10 god generals by his side. He was worried that his subordinates would be attacked by Supreme Sure FA when he was collecting the flower nectar. As for Dongbua Shui Ying, this time, Dongbua Shui Ying had brought several avatars with him, just in case. Some avatars were kept within the Eden treasure that Great Emperor North River carried with him. Even if the avatars outside were ambushed and destroyed, it would not affect the overall situation. Great Emperor North River and Dongbua Shui Ying exchanged glances. Great Emperor, feel free to collect the flower dew. I'll just casually take a look. Dongbua Shui Ying was instead observing his surroundings curiously. All right, Great Emperor North River nodded. He then took a step and flew towards the outermost black leaf. After lightly landing on a leaf, he headed towards the nearest violet flower. Dongbua Shui Ying watched as Great Emperor North River took out a complex tool and carefully collected the flower dew. After that, he began observing his surroundings. There were many structures in the surroundings. Even this lake was within a huge garden with courtyard walls surrounding it. This time, it is because Monarch Feishue is here. Otherwise, that North River would not have arrived at the Blackleaf Lake. Supreme Sure FA walked to the side of Dongbua Shui Ying, chuckling, "Monarch Feishue, with your attainments in the Tao of Soul, why are you helping this North River? I believe those great emperors are fighting to befriend you. Even if you don't help North River can't do anything to you." Dongbua Shui Ying chuckled. He helped Great Emperor North River primarily because he wanted to avoid a war. Naturally, Great Emperor North River had always been polite to him. Great Emperor North River can give me what I want, Dongbua Shui Ying said before changing the topic. Supreme, why is the suppression of this Blackleaf Lake so frightening? He felt suffocating just by standing by the shore. I can only feel some slight suppression by the shore. Supreme Sure FA chuckled. If you step on that black leaf and get closer to the center, the suppression will become stronger and more terrifying. Even I can't step on that piece of black leaf at the center. Even Supremes can't go up? Dongbua Shui Ying was startled. How strong were Supremes? Just by suppressing them, they could prevent Supremes from reaching the centermost leaf. This Blackleaf Lake is related to one of the two terrifying chaotic origin life forms that fell in the past. Supreme sure FA sighed. They have long fallen. Furthermore, the remnant energy that formed the Black Leaf Lake is something that I can't even get close to. I really wonder how terrifying those two would be if they were still alive. Donghua Shuang nodded. After all, they could injure Yuan. Even if they were not as strong as Yuan, they should not be too far off. Even though there are more than 100 black leaf flowers, North River's resistance against the suppression is weaker than mine. He should only be able to collect half of the flower dew from the black leaf flowers. Furthermore, this half of the black leaf flowers are the smallest. Supreme sure FA chuckled. The closer one was to the center, the bigger the flowers. For instance, that violet flower at the center had a diameter of several dozen kilometers. The flower dew it contained was likely more than all the other flowers added together. Can I go up and have a look? Donghua Shuang said. Of course you can. Supreme sure FA chuckled. But you must be careful. You must not touch the lake water. The lake water is blazing hot, and with your strength, you would most likely turn into ashes the moment you touch it. Understood. Donghua Shuang then flew up towards the outermost black leaf. He is going over too? This monarch Feishue is going over too. Some of the subordinates of Supreme Sure Fa were watching from afar. They were discussing amongst themselves. The majority of them felt indignant. There were not many from the Death Destruction clan who had a good temper. And Great Emperor North River, who was collecting the flower dew, turned to Donghua Shuang. He chuckled when he saw that. He transmitted over, Brother Feishue, you must be more careful. He then continued collecting the flower dew. He lightly landed. The tip of his feet stepped on the black leaf. The black leaf was flexible and easily supported him. What a powerful pressure. Donghua Shuang was not interested in those flower dew. Firstly, he did not need them. Secondly, he did not have any special tools to collect the flower dew. He was curious about the pressure coming from the Black Night Lake. The centermost leaf could prevent even Supremes from going up. That was too powerful. Donghua Shuang felt like he was taking a stroll. He casually walked over step by step. After all, there were many leaves covering an area of 5,000 kilometers. Donghua Shuang walked quite quickly. He was constantly walking past many black leaves. The black leaves beneath his feet were also getting bigger, and that pressure was getting stronger too. What a powerful pressure. Donghua Shuang sighed inwardly. This pressure directly targeted the soul. As he got closer, it felt like an endless mountain was pressing down on his soul. This is really difficult. Donghua Shuang was trying his best to walk forward. What? Supreme Sure Fa, who was by the shore, was startled when he saw that. He has walked this far? How could this be? He has unknowingly walked this far? Those experts from the Death Destruction clan were incredibly shocked. How is this possible? Even though he was collecting flower dew, Great Emperor North River was constantly paying attention to his surroundings. When he discovered how far Donghua Shuang had walked, he could not help but feel startled. He cared too much about the Black Leaf Lake. He had already collected a huge amount of intelligence and knew that he might not be able to walk this far. Gradually, Donghua Shuang revealed a strenuous look, but he had already reached the other leaf closest to the centermost leaf. That leaf was 5 kilometers in diameter. Amen? Even though I feel it is difficult, I am just a final distance away from the centermost leaf. Donghua Shuang was incredibly startled. Even though his soul had absorbed a droplet of heart blood from myriad tentacles of Dragon Mother, it was ultimately just a level 2 Cosmos God Foundation. The heart blood of myriad tentacles Dragon Mother could only strengthen the soul of this avatar of Donghua Shuang slightly more than ordinary Final Realm experts. Compared to Supremes, the gap was even greater. But in terms of willpower, Donghua Shuang was much stronger than these Death Destruction clan and natives who relied purely on their bloodline. This was also the advantage of cultivators. Furthermore, when he comprehended the Tao of Mirage and illusory realm killing technique, his soul had undergone a unique transformation. Furthermore, being the undisputed #1 expert in the Tao of Soul, He could easily control his soul energy to form a vast world that could resist against the suppression on his soul. It can't be. Supreme Sure Fa was startled. Unless, even Great Emperor North River, who was collecting the flower, temporarily stopped. He looked at Dongbua Shuang. Under their observation, Dongbua Shuang did not stop moving. Finally, he stepped onto the centermost and largest black leaf in the entire black leaf lake. Whoa! At the moment when Dongbua Shuang stepped onto that centermost leaf, that largest black leaf flower also let out a dazzling violet light that shone in all directions. It also shone on the body of Dongbua Shuang. Forget it. It seems I have to update 8 chapters tomorrow. I'll risk it tomorrow. At the same time, I'll announce that Dongbua Shuang will reach the final realm during the 8 chapters tomorrow. Star. Chapter 1257. That violet-colored black leaf flower that spanned a few dozen kilometers in diameter emitted a light that was so dazzling that it intoxicated others. Even Supreme Sure Fa, Great Emperor North River, and other observers were both startled and attracted by it. They looked at that white-robed young man who had already walked to the centermost black leaf. All of them felt shock, envy, jealousy, disbelief. All sorts of emotions were complex. He could actually go up and walk to the centermost. Even with his identity, Supreme Sure Fa could not help but mutter to himself. The Black Leaf Lake was located on his island. He had tried many times, yet under that terrifying pressure, even his soul could not withstand it. In the end, he could only stop. Who would have thought that after I invited him over for help, he would be the one who reaped the greatest benefits in the end? Great Emperor North River stopped collecting the flower dew. He was the newest Great Emperor, yet he was faintly the strongest amongst all Great Emperors. That was because he worked hard to grab hold of every single opportunity. At this moment, he instinctively understood that the terrifying pressure coming from the centermost black leaf and the mysterious light emitted by the violet-colored flower meant that there was no huge opportunity. He desired for such an opportunity to land in his hands, but he could not even step on the centermost leaf. He was not qualified to compete for it, much less him. Even Supreme could not step on it. For a moment, everyone was watching with envy, yet they could not compete for it. What is that? What is that? Supreme Sure Fa and the others were suddenly startled. One could see the centermost black leaf flower emitting a violet light that shone in all directions. Suddenly, many droplets of light flew up. Those droplets of dew could vaguely be seen in midair. Under the illumination of the light, they were refracting light. It's just that within these dew droplets, there was a faint figure of a strange creature. These dew droplets seemed to have been attracted by an unseen force. They flew towards Dongbua Shuang and fused into his body. Is it the flower dew? The flower dew of the black leaf flower? No, it seems slightly different. Supreme Sure Fa, Great Emperor North River, and the others could only make wild guesses as they watched. When Dongbua Shuang walked to the center of the black leaf, the flower emitted a blinding purple light. The dewdrop that reflected the light flew over, and inside it, one could vaguely see the silhouette of a strange creature. Even though Dongbua Shuang knew that these dew droplets were extraordinary, he could not help but desire them. Furthermore, this was just a clone, so Dongbua Shuang did not dodge at all. He allowed the dew droplets to land on his body and be absorbed by it. Boom! The moment the dew came into contact with his body, Dongbua Shuang's consciousness rumbled. At this moment, he saw it. He could clearly see that within the dark and boundless chaotic origin dimension, there was an incomparably huge creature flying. It had a few dozen claws, and its body was filled with more than 1,000 eyes. Some of these eyes were gray, and some were gold. But at this moment, these eyes were all closed, because Dongbua Shuang had seen too many gray and gold eyes in the past. Even if these eyes were closed, Dongbua Shuang could ascertain with a single glance that they were those mysterious eyes which he once saw on the sky-floating islands. In the distance, there was a faint, resplendent light. That was an incomparably vast origin world. It was emitting surging ripples that charged against the surrounding chaotic origin dimension. And this huge creature was leisurely flying by. It might seem slow, but it merely took a few seconds to fly across the length of an origin world. Because this creature was simply too huge. It was comparable to that vast origin world in the distance. Only then did Dongbua Shuang deduce that this huge creature was roughly 1/10 the size of an origin world. Its body is actually so huge. Dongbua Shuang was startled. This huge creature was too beautiful. It was a beauty that contained the laws. The scales on its body formed many spatial zones. Different regions of its huge body could even distort the flow of time. But no matter how time changed, this huge creature would always exist in the past, future, and present. It would never change. Dongbua Shuang even had a feeling that reaching this level, this huge creature should never die. It was as if it should appear in the future. It's just that Dongbua Shuang vaguely knew that this huge creature should be one of the two terrifying chaotic origin life forms that died in the Broken Teeth mountain range. Ling Yuan was injured, yet he still fell. It was unknown if he was killed by Yuan or by Yuan and other chaotic origin experts. So beautiful. Dongbua Shuang's consciousness sighed in admiration. That claw naturally contained the horrifying laws of destruction. As its body swam about, Dongbua Shuang felt that it contained an incredibly profound mystery of the void. Its body was constantly producing a terrifying gravitational force. And if one was close to it, it would produce a frightening, repulsive force. His body naturally contained gravitational and repulsive forces, causing waves of chaotic origin energy to form in the vast and dim chaotic origin dimension wherever it passed. Wong. Suddenly, all the eyes on this gigantic creature opened and looked in a certain direction. More than 1,000 eyes. Half of them were golden, and the other half were gray. Even if it was not staring at Dongbua Shuang could feel the endless attraction from those gray eyes. And those golden eyes were all filled with horrifying, offensive power, both perfectly fused together. One would cause the enemy to be immersed in it, weakening their defenses, while the other would attack the soul of the enemy. Only when these two perfectly fused together would it become a terrifying, killing technique. Pong! Following that, the scene in his consciousness dissipated. Dongbua Shuang regained his consciousness. That black leaf flower in front of him was still emitting a bewitching violet light. Dongbua Shuang walked over. As he got closer, he discovered that the petals of the flower were slowly blooming. Finally, it completely bloomed. There was some dew within the stamen, and at the core, there was a crystalline pearl that seemed like a dew embedded at the center of the flower. Because it was entirely transparent, it was glowing with light. At first glance, it did look like a dew, but Dongbua Shuang knew that it was not a dew. Thousand-eyed water droplet. Dongbua Shuang felt his heart palpitating. Thousand-eyed water droplet. It wasn't just Shuang. Even Supreme, Fa, and Great Emperor North River, who stopped collecting the flower dew, were able to clearly see that bead at the center of the stamen. Their eyes were so sharp that they could clearly see that pearl at the center of the stamen. Thousand-eyed water droplet. The supreme treasure of Broken Tooth Mountain Range. Broken Tooth Mountain Range had a total of 2 supreme treasures. One was the thousand-eyed water droplet, and the other was the snake tooth bead. They were sufficient to make any ultra-strong expert in Broken Tooth Mountain Range go crazy with greed, because the moment they obtained it, they could rely on it to enter the legendary forbidden ground of Broken Tooth Mountain Range, the Snake Tooth Corridor. The Snake Tooth Corridor was too dangerous. The entrance was too terrifying. If Supremes entered just like that, they would undoubtedly die. Hence, they had to bring the thousand-eyed water droplet or snake tooth bead in. Not good. When the black leaf flower completely bloomed, revealing that thousand-eyed water droplet, the terrifying suppression that originally pervaded the entire place abruptly disappeared. At the moment it disappeared, Dongbua Shuang knew something was amiss. The reason why nobody could obstruct him here was because the terrifying suppression prevented Supreme, Sure, Fa, and the others from entering. South, Dongbua Ying reflexively extended his hand. His arm expanded at lightning speed, grabbing that thousand-eyed water droplet with his fingers. Hong! Hong! Supreme Sure Fa and Great Emperor North River both moved. Thousand-eyed water droplet. Supreme Sure Fa did not expect that there was a thousand-eyed water droplet hidden at the center of his black leaf lake. Even though there were quite a few thousand-eyed water droplets and snake-tooth beads, they were scattered across the vast Broken Tooth mountain range. Furthermore, it was incredibly difficult to obtain them. In history, almost all Supremes obtained them precisely because the difficulty was too great. The great emperors had only obtained it a few times. Supreme Sure Fa had entered the Snake-Tooth Corridor a total of 3 times in history, and precisely because he had entered before, he wanted to enter again. Supreme Sure Fa, stop. Great Emperor North River was truly amazing. His reaction was even faster than Supreme Sure Fa. In addition to the short distance between them on the Black Leaf Mountain, Great Emperor North River only needed a single step to travel a short distance of 500 kilometers. Even though Supreme Sure Fa could teleport, in reality, this short distance could not be compared to flying. Teleportation required one to teleport from one location to another, and it required a short period of time. Scram! Supreme Sure Fa angrily roared out and waved his palm. This was the first time he acted against the team led by Dongbua Ying. Brother Fei Shue, use your illusory realm. Great Emperor North River transmitted back. I know. Dongbua Ying naturally did not hesitate. His terrifying mirage and illusory realm directly descended and dealt against that Supreme Sure Fa. Chapter 1258. A sword appeared in the hand of Great Emperor North River. The sword light turned into a surging river. This river flowed around Dongbua Ying and Great Emperor North River, and Supreme Sure Fa was affected by the illusory realm. His palm that came slapping over clearly hesitated. Its power had weakened significantly. Nevertheless, it still made Dongbua Ying feel an endless threat. Pong! This palm slapped down with endless black light, causing the sword-light river of Great Emperor North River to distort. Great Emperor North River immediately brought along Dongbua Ying and retreated. At the place where the palm clashed with the sword-light river, there were even more dark aura that turned into small snakes tunneling over. These small snakes were making chi-chi-chi sounds under the obstruction of the sword-light. They continued shrinking until they were completely consumed. But there were still some small black snakes that rapidly reached where Dongbua Ying was. Great Emperor North River roared out furiously as he slashed out with his sword. Only then did he barely break through them. Supreme Sure Fa, you can't stop us. Great Emperor North River roared. The shockwave from the clash of both parties blasted out in all directions. It also affected the body of Dongbua Ying, causing Dongbua Ying to feel suffocated. His skin felt like it was being torn apart. Some wounds even appeared. Brother Fei Shue, you can't even resist against this? Great Emperor North River could not help but transmit over when he saw that. He could not even resist against powerful attacks. Just the shockwave alone was enough for ordinary kings from the Death Destruction clan and the natives to resist. Yet Dongbua Ying could not. I feel ashamed. Dongbua Ying felt helpless. He was too weak. He could only resist against it with his body. Even though his fleshy body was considered formidable amongst cultivators, and his ability to deflect attacks was relatively strong, he could not compare with the natives who had chaotic origin bloodlines, much less the Death Destruction clan. The fleshy body of the Death Destruction clan was stronger by an entire level as compared to the natives. Supremacy Sure Fa stopped. He stood on a piece of black leaf. He remained silent. The surrounding black leaves and violet flowers were also in a mess. Quite a few flowers were even broken. But Supreme Sure Fa did not care. Over time, the flowers would bloom once again. Your luck is truly good, Supreme Martial Artist Sure Fa said in a low voice. It's Brother Feishue's good luck. Great Emperor North River laughed. The previous exchange gave him more confidence. Supreme Sure Fa should still have about 70% of his strength left, even though he was slightly stronger than Great Emperor North River. This slight advantage meant that it was hard to determine the victor even if they fought for 100,000 or 1,000,000 years. Furthermore, Great Emperor North River had 10 god generals under him. These were the top 10 of the 36 divine generals that he had deliberately chosen. As for Supremacy Sure Fa's subordinates, under the influence of the illusory realm, the threat they posed was negligible. I can't stop you, Supreme Sure Fa nodded and admitted. However, there's only one thousand-eyed water droplet. How are the two of you going to split it? Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and Great Emperor North River exchanged glances. How should they divide it? Brother Feishue, currently, the two of us are on the same boat. Neither of us can leave the other. Great Emperor North River transmitted. Only by working together can we leave safely. Monarch Feishue, Supreme Sure Fa lightly landed on a piece of black leaf. He said, with your current strength, there isn't much meaning in going to the Snake-Tooth Corridor. After all, you haven't even reached the final realm. How about this? Why don't we make a deal? Give up on this North River and give me the thousand-eyed water droplet. What do you want? Just say it. I'll do my best to help you get it. This was the first time one of the 5 great supremes gave this promise to Dongbua Shuang. North River. Supreme Sure Fa turned to Great Emperor North River. Even though this monarch Feishue is under your protection, and you can kill him anytime you want, I've heard that he has many avatars. However, I heard that he has countless clones. Destroying these clones won't affect him at all. As for the thousand-eyed water droplet, without the help of Monarch Feishue, do you think you can escape from the core region of my Sure Fa Island? For the sake of this thousand-eyed water droplet, I'm willing to disregard my reputation and gang up on you with my subordinates. By then, not only will you lose the thousand-eyed water droplet, you will also lose your life. The expression of Great Emperor North River turned ugly, right? If Dongbua Shui Ying chose to help Supreme Sure Fa, Great Emperor North River would indeed face a life-threatening danger. If it were under ordinary circumstances, the Supremes would disdain from ganging up on him. But the thousand-eyed water droplet was related to the opportunity to enter the Snake-Tooth Corridor. To the 5 great Supremes, only by breaking through to the chaotic origin life-form realm could they disregard their reputation. Brother Feishue, you can't trust this Supreme Sure Fa. Great Emperor North River transmitted over. Don't you know the personality of the Death Destruction clan? They are capricious and are devils deep in their bones. Dongbua Shui Ying became silent. Great Emperor North River became even more anxious. He desired to get the thousand-eyed water droplet, yet he was worried about his life. So mysterious. At this moment, Dongbua Shui Ying was holding onto the thousand-eyed water droplet. He could feel strands of fluctuations. After permeating his consciousness into it, he could vaguely feel an illusory world within. It was a thousand-eyed world that was incredibly mysterious. Is this the reason why that terrifying, chaotic origin life form could unleash the bewilderment of the gray eyes and the destruction of the golden eyes at the same time? Dongbua Shui Ying was inwardly enlightened. Being a great expert in the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm, he was clear that the number 1 killing technique he created in the Tao of Mirage and Illusory Realm could cause the enemy to fall into oblivion. The essence of this killing technique was to create an illusory world to envelop the enemy. It would drag the soul of the enemy into this illusory realm. As for the golden eyes, Dongbua Shui Ying had memorized many of the illusory realm structures within the golden eyes. Furthermore, his avatar and a number 1 god general under Great Emperor Shamanic Wind, God General Stone Light, were continuing to explore the islands with gray eyes and golden eyes. He had memorized more and more of the illusory realm structures of the mysterious eyes. As for the illusory realm structure of the golden eyes, Ying had comprehended it and absorbed it to comprehend the second killing technique. But the first killing technique and the second killing technique, he imagined, could not be executed on the same enemy at the same time, because these two killing techniques were illusory realms. One illusory realm was used to bewilder the enemy, and the other was used to kill the enemy within the illusory realm. These two illusory realms were entirely different, and the soul of the enemy could only be dragged into one illusory realm. After entering one illusory realm, the enemy could not enter the second illusory realm at the same time. These two techniques conflicted with each other. Nevertheless, at the first level Cosmos God at that time, the 5 branches of the Tao of Mirage had yet to fuse together. Hence, his techniques were relatively crude. For instance, bewilderment was a pure bewilderment. World was an illusory realm world. Slaughter was a direct soul extermination. Instead, Ying could execute both at the same time. In reaching the level of Dongbua Shui Ying, a single mirage and illusory realm technique was fused with many profound mysteries. The world lineage had long been fused into it. That was why it was so frightening. With one illusory realm, it was impossible for the enemy to enter the second illusory realm at the same time. So that's the case. Dongbua Shui Ying sensed this thousand-eyed water droplet. There was a vague, illusory realm within the thousand-eyed water droplet. This world allowed the bewilderment realm of the gray eyes and the slaughter realm of the golden eyes to fuse together perfectly. This thousand-eyed water droplet is very useful to me. The gray eyes and the golden eyes allow me to discern 2 paths. And this thousand-eyed water droplet is able to fuse both paths into one. That is the true killing technique of that terrifying, chaotic origin life form. Dongbua Shui Ying thought, how frightening would it be when 2 great techniques fused into one? At the same time, when the enemy resisted against the bewilderment, his heart force would be greatly damaged. Furthermore, he would suffer from a soul extermination attack, causing his injuries to be even more severe. With his soul injured, it would be harder for him to resist against the bewilderment. The 2 techniques complemented each other. The thousand-eyed water droplet is very important to me, but if I wanted to monopolize it, Supreme Sure FA would definitely not agree to it. Great Emperor North River would most likely not agree to it too. Dongbua Shui Ying thought, even if I temporarily agree to it due to the danger to my life, I'm afraid he would kill me when I leave this island. Supreme Sure FA is from the Death Destruction clan. He isn't worth trusting. As for Great Emperor North River, I can trust him, but I can't monopolize it. Does that mean I can only trade with him? Dongbua Shui Ying rapidly pondered over it. He was very curious about the Snake Tooth Corridor, but he temporarily did not desire for it. Firstly, he hoped to reach the final realm earlier. Only then could he save his loved ones and good friends before the great apocalypse of his hometown origin world. Secondly, the illusory realm within the thousand-eyed water droplet was what he valued the most. Enter the Snake Tooth Corridor and take the risk? He would think about it after he reached the final realm. Great Emperor North River, do you really want the thousand-eyed water droplet? Dongbua Shui Ying transmitted. Honestly speaking, I naturally want it. Great Emperor North River's heart palpitated. He looked at Dongbua Shui Ying and transmitted back, I am just a step away from Grand Perfection Emperor on my path of cultivation. But I am the youngest Great Emperor and have never been to the Snake Tooth Corridor before. If I could enter, I might become a Supreme. But if Brother Feishua wants it, everything can be discussed. Chapter 1259. Dongbua Shui Ying did not dare believe that Supreme Sure FA would disregard his pride and attack him when faced with the temptation of the thousand-eyed water droplet. Hence, for the sake of his life, Great Emperor North River would definitely compromise. But when they were about to leave this Sure FA island, Great Emperor North River would most likely turn hostile for the sake of the thousand-eyed water droplet. Great Emperor North River. What Supreme Sure Fa said is correct. Dongbua Shuiying transmitted, I have yet to reach the final realm. Even though I am curious about entering the Snake-Tooth Corridor, I do not have a crazy desire to do so. Great Emperor North River felt his heart moved when he heard that. But this thousand-eyed water droplet is slightly unique. I wish to comprehend it. Dongbua Shuiying transmitted again. How about this? Let me comprehend this thousand-eyed water droplet for 1,000,000,000,000 years. After 1,000,000,000,000 years, I'll give it to you. How about that? If you're worried that I would escape with the thousand-eyed water droplet, how about this? This avatar of mine that carries the thousand-eyed water droplet will always be by your side. It can also stay in your Eden treasure. Regarding this, both parties can swear an oath. I believe you should know how important oaths are to us cultivators. Good. Great Emperor North River was delighted. He transmitted back, Brother Feishue, I do not know how to repay such a huge favor. This is what I owe Brother Feishue. After this matter is over, Brother Feishue can just tell me how you want me to repay you. Do we have to swear an oath? Dongbua Shuiying transmitted back. Yes, Brother Feishue, if you swear an oath, I will too. Great Emperor North River added. Both parties quietly came to an agreement. They also swore an oath. Dongbua Shuiying did not have any other choice. Believe in Supreme Sure Fa. He did not dare believe in a Supreme from the Death Destruction clan. Then he could only believe in Great Emperor North River. If he did not give the other party sufficient benefits, Dongbua Shuiying felt that given the personality of Great Emperor North River, he would likely turn hostile. No choice. He was weak. That was the only way. Monarch Feishue, have you made your choice? Will you believe me, or will you believe him? Supreme Being Sure Fa spoke. Supreme Being, I'm sorry. Dongbua Shuiying apologized. All right, I hope you won't regret it. Supreme Sure Fa's expression turned cold. He knew that the three Supremes from the Death Destruction clan did not have a good reputation. It was normal for the other party to believe in Great Emperor North River. Supreme Sure Fa looked at Great Emperor North River. North River, your luck is really good. Do you want me to send you off? There's no need. Great Emperor North River replied. It won't take too long to fly out. Whoosh. Great Emperor North River waved his hand before keeping Dongbua Shuiying. He then rapidly flew to the distance, turning into a stream that traveled at high speed across the sky-floating island. Within the grotto heaven treasure, Dongbua Shuiying and his clones were all here. Thousand-eyed water droplet. Dongbua Shuiying held onto the thousand-eyed water droplet. He was thoroughly immersed in it. The illusory realm contained within the thousand-eyed water droplet was too mysterious. Previously, the memories of the golden and gray eyes could be fused into it. It was as if it encompassed everything. The essence of the world is to contain everything. Everything can be contained. The illusory realm within this thousand-eyed water droplet isn't complete. After all, that chaotic origin life form has died, and the mysteriousness of the thousand-eyed water droplet has greatly diminished. Dongbua Shuiying thought, but if it were alive, how would he have the chance to comprehend it in detail? Just as Dongbua Shuiying was in the process of comprehending it. Suddenly, a figure condensed by the side. It was the incarnation of Great Emperor North River. Great Emperor. Dongbua Shuiying turned to Great Emperor North River by the side. Why? Are we about to fly out of the sky-floating island? It's about time. Great Emperor North River chuckled and nodded. This time, it is all thanks to Brother Feishue. Because of Brother Feishue, I have collected quite a few black leaf flower dew. Furthermore, Brother Feishue has promised me that he would give me the thousand-eyed water droplet after 1,000,000,000 years. I really do not know how to repay this favor. Even though I can collect 1 or 2 supreme-graded secret treasures, compared to the thousand-eyed water droplet, it is still far too lacking. I have no way of repaying this favor. I can only remember it in my heart. Remember it in your heart? Dongbua Shuiying was startled. Did he not say that he would give a supreme-graded secret treasure to thank him? At that moment, he felt that something was amiss. Also, the thousand-eyed water droplet is too precious. I'm truly worried about letting Brother Feishua keep it for 1,000,000,000 years. It is better for me to get it as soon as possible. Great Emperor North River's smile became even more radiant. Dongbua Shui Ying's expression changed. North River, you are right, at least you aren't stupid. Great Emperor North River waved his hand. Hong Long Long. A terrifying sword light surged over like a river. Great Emperor North River grinned at Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang wanted to execute the Great Destruction Realm teleportation technique. But currently, he was still within the region of the sky-floating island and could not escape. I am truly blind. The eyes of Dongbua Shuang were cold. Oh! Many avatars of his could not resist the sword light river of Great Emperor North River at all. They were all exterminated. After they were exterminated, only a thousand-eyed water droplet remained. Great Emperor North River revealed a look of excitement. He extended his hand and grabbed the thousand-eyed water droplet. His body was slightly trembling. The thousand-eyed water droplet is mine. Truly foolish. 1,000,000,000 years? Even though you swore an oath, 1,000,000,000 years is still a long time. Who knows what accidents might happen? It is better for me to get it as soon as possible. The harvest this time is too huge. I have collected enough flower nectar and obtained the thousand-eyed water droplet too. This monarch Feishua is truly foolish. He actually believed in my oath? Great Emperor North River coldly laughed. When he was weak, he once lived in the Realm Heart Great Land. The cultivators in the Realm Heart Great Land did not know that he was a native of the Broken Teeth mountain range. Hence, he relied on this oath to scam many cultivators. You cultivators care about oaths, but I don't. Great Emperor North River sneered. Some natives learned from the cultivators and worked hard to cultivate their heart. Hence, they cared about oaths. But some did not care at all. Great Emperor North River was one of them. When Great Emperor North River acted, he was currently flying to the boundary of this sky-floating island. Relying on the suppression of the sky-floating island, he prevented Dongbua Shui from escaping using the Great Destruction Realm teleportation. At the moment he killed the other party, he left the sky-floating island. North River, you still acted. A figure appeared in the distance. He was none other than Supreme Sure Fa, who teleported. Great Emperor North River looked at Supreme Sure Fa. It's a pity that I've already left this sky-floating island. You can't do anything to me. Saying that, he directly teleported away. Supreme Sure Fa softly sneered as he watched. What a pitiful monarch Feishua. I've said it before, you will regret it. If you stood on my side, I could still throw some benefits to you in the future. But if you stood on the side of North River, your treasures would be snatched away immediately. Ultimately, you are too weak in direct combat. By relying on your soul technique, you can only rely on others in direct combat. North River, it is within my expectations that you would fall out with me. But this thousand-eyed water droplet has been snatched away by you. That means you have formed an enmity with that monarch Feishua. His combat strength is ordinary, but the threat he poses is huge. Supreme Sure Fa's eyes were filled with coldness. The thousand-eyed water droplet was clearly right in front of him, yet was taken away by Great Emperor North River in the end. Supreme Sure Fa naturally could not let Great Emperor North River have his way. He really fell out with me. I've sworn an oath, and he has also sworn an oath. Yet, he actually fell out with me? Within the Starlight World, an avatar of Dongbua Shui who was currently drinking wine in his courtyard revealed a furious look. Dongbua Shui knew that no matter who he chose to help, he would be in danger. He had already agreed to give up the thousand-eyed water droplet as long as he used it to cultivate for 1,000,000,000 years. Both parties had sworn an oath. In addition to the influence Dongbua Shui had across the entire Broken Tooth mountain range, if he fell out with him, Great Emperor North River would not have a good life in the future. But Great Emperor North River still fell out with him. Damn. Dongbua Shui felt helpless in his heart. He had no choice. He was too weak. Even if great emperors and supremes were weakened to 10% of their strength, they could still easily crush him to death. Brother Fei Xue, you actually obtained the thousand-eyed water droplet from Shur Fa Island. Yet it was snatched away by North River. Monarch Fei Xue, I've heard that you helped North River. Yet North River fell out with you and snatched away the thousand-eyed water droplet. He obtained your help, yet he still fell out with you. How can you allow him to live? Monarch Fei Xue, let me help you. Let us kill our way to the North River world and find that great emperor, North River. Brother Fei Xue, that North River is too much of a bully. We can't tolerate this. Almost immediately, more and more transmissions came. Now you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.